A day 100 years in the making. Qualifications for the 100th Indy 500.
Throughout this milestone month of May, we will celebrate a centenary race by traveling through time, descending through decades gone by turning back our clocks. Today, the clock fights back. These laps aren't about the rearview mirror. They're about chasing what's up ahead, to grab a moment in time.
Wow, that thing is fast.
To take a driver's name and make it timeless. As an Indianapolis 500 pole winner.
It's a new track record.
Today isn't about bygone times.
Golden bell here.
It's about bye, I'm gone.
You're going to be P1.
Welcome to Indianapolis 500 qualifying.
Welcome to day one of two of qualifications for the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Alongside former INDYCAR driver Darren Manning, Greg Rakestraw, it is wonderful to be with you. It is wonderful that rain from earlier in the day has stopped. It kind of pushed things back a little bit here. Limited track time for these teams early this afternoon. Open qualifying was set to begin at 11 a.m. Tony Kanaan was the first car to take the track at 2:20 this afternoon. And to this point, a little more than 20 drivers have been on the track for their first four-lap qualifying run here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And here's the Saturday format. Again, everybody is guaranteed at least one four-lap time. And then the field will be set based on the fastest four-lap average in terms of making your way in to the top 33. Now, there are just 33 cars that will attempt to qualify for this 100th Indianapolis 500. So really what today is about is getting into that fast nine. Those are the car and driver combinations that will have the opportunity to then run for the pole tomorrow afternoon here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But whether you are first or 33rd, you must re-qualify your car tomorrow to set your spot for this 100th running of the 500. And because of the extra added effort that we put into qualifying for this race, it is almost like another race in the IndyCar series and season. Simon Pagenaud has been gobbling up points, finishing no worse than second in a race this year. He'll look to do this as well to extend that points lead. The fastest qualifier gets 42, all the way down to 33rd spot. They'll get one series point. Darren, as always, it is great to be with you. And when you start thinking back to memories of qualifying for the Indy 500, what immediately comes back to your mind?
Well, butterflies. Hinch there sitting, getting ready in the pit lane, getting ready to do his first qualifying run. He's not got too many good memories from last year. Obviously, his huge accident here at the track. But, yeah, these are the fastest 4 laps of your life. You know, the cars are super trimmed out with downforce levels being unlimited. You can take off as much downforce as you want, and that to go as fast as you can. These are the 230-mile-an-hour average lap times. It's super fast and pretty scary.
There are 9 cars who have yet to take to the track for their qualifying 4-lap, 10-mile run. 22 cars have recorded a time at this point. You see that with the ticker across the top of your screen. 2 other cars have elected not to go out to qualifying just yet. One of them was involved in an incident earlier today, that being Max Chilton. The other, the guy that won it 20 years ago with Buddy Lazier.
Well, we are standing by with the guy who so far is the fastest qualifier here for this 100th Indianapolis 500, and that's Townsend Bell. And let's talk about how much on the edge were you during that lap?
It was pretty edgy. First lap was good. Second lap was a little harder. Third lap, I made a bit of a bobble there in turn 1. And then I tried to make up for it on the 4th lap. That's just the way I'm wired is, man, you're in a hole, let's go swinging. And then I paid for it even more on the 4th lap, and that was disappointing because I should have probably been a little smarter than that. But, man, California Pizza Kitchen, Robert Graham car has been awesome. Honda Power, terrific, and can't complain to be at top of the charts right now. All
right, you don't get pole until tomorrow, so here's the question. If you're still running as fast as you are in terms of the speed, you don't go down the charts at all, and there's not that many people left, do you go out again and try and do a little bit faster, or just wait till tomorrow?
I probably won't be the one to make that decision. I've got a great team at Andretti Autosport, and they'll be studying every bit of it.
But if you had a vote?
I'd probably want to go again because I'd like to piece together 4 laps much better. But the car's fast. It's capable of being the fastest car today, I think. And we'll just have to see what happens. Stay tuned.
All right, Townsend Bell wants to go back out, but will he?
That, of course, is Rick DeBrew with Townsend Bell, who has made an art form of the one-off here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway the last 2 years. His ties to the series are primarily as an announcer throughout the course of the year. This year, the 5th car for Andretti Autosport. He is having a tremendous month of May so far. He's been fast from the moment he got in the car on Monday, and that continues today. Currently with the fastest 4-lap qualifying average of 230.452 miles per hour. This is Jack Hawksworth, one of the 2 full-time Foyt racing drivers in the series, Takuma Sato being the other. They are joined by Alex Tagliani for this month of May. And really, Darren, for your former team, 2016 has really been a bit of a struggle.
It really has, Greg. You know, they're really struggling a little here this month as well, which is a shame because AJ really loves this place. He puts all his effort into this one event, gets the cars super trimmed out, puts all his effort into building the cars, and they're just struggling down at the field. Tagliani's, you know, he's the 3rd car effort, so you understandably, you know, wouldn't really be, you know, right up there at the front of the field. But yeah, Takuma down in 12th place right now, and Jack's looking like he's going to be struggling on this lap. You can see he's running in 4th gear only there, so maybe they've missed out on the gearing a little bit, or do they actually want to be running in 4th gear? And it's shifting up into 5th and probably going to go back down into 4th coming through turn 1. So yeah, not the best years. They seem to be really fast in qualifying on road and street circuits, but coming to the ovals, it's really tough.
Let's explain the graphic a little bit here. Of course, kilometers per hour is what you're seeing on screen. We'll reference most things in miles per hour throughout the course of the broadcast. The important parameters, again, 33 cars are in the race. Unfortunately for Jack, he's 23rd of 23rd right now as far as cars
he's running, yeah.
that have taken times here in qualifying. Spot number 1, importantly, spot number 9. We're showing the gears. We've seen him largely in 4th, right now in 5th. He's been doing that down the front straightaway. Can you have, say, a different gear ratio than other drivers and still be successful in terms of qualifying at this track?
Yeah, well, the 4th, 5th, and 6th gears are all pretty much top gears. The 1st, 2nd, 3rd are your acceleration gears, and depending on wind conditions, you know, it's going to take you probably, I don't know, an hour or so to change gears. So the team have got to be really guessing. So using, you know, 3 top gears is something more of a safety zone. If the car goes super fast, you can use 6th gear, and if you're like Jack here, you're not getting up to speed as much, you can use your 4th and 5th gears.
Lap number 3 in the books for Jack Hawksworth from a miles per hour standpoint. It's been consistent. It's just unfortunately consistently slow. 225.25 miles per hour. And right now that would put him just ahead of teammate Alex Tagliani, and a guy that knows that maybe he might get back out for some more practice or for one more run, but more than likely, and he knew this going into the day, he's in that 10 to 33 window early tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of these guys that know they probably don't have the speed of the top guys, they're probably just putting a lap together. Like we said earlier in the show, you know, tomorrow is the important time for actually setting the field. So these guys have probably got a lot of downforce in the car and just getting a time in there.
Hawksworth, one of 2 drivers in the 225-mile-an-hour range. His 4-lap average, 225.388 miles per hour. He and rookie Stephen Wilson, the only drivers in that time range of 225. And now our defending champ, Juan Pablo Montoya, 15 years removed from winning it back in 2000. Of course, Formula One came calling. Then eventually, NASCAR and Sprint Cup came calling. But we can just talk about his moments right here in this series.
Work together here.
He's cleared it. He was all the way back in 30th place after an opening laps crash. Here they come to the checkered flag. And the winner of the Indianapolis 500 is Juan Pablo Montoya.
He had great runs here in a Formula One car in the years the U.S. Grand Prix was contested here. Came awfully close to winning the Brickyard 400 here. There's something about great race car drivers. They do well here, and Juan Pablo Montoya is part of that select company.
I would absolutely, completely agree with you there, Greg. You know, this is a track where drive on an oval that drivers actually can make quite a bit of difference in speed and lap times. Setting the car up is critical. You've got 4 very different corners here. Turn 1 seems to always be the hardest. Turn 2 is difficult. You've got less grandstands, and generally a big gust of wind gets you right in the side of the car as you come through turn 2. Turn 4 is probably the easiest. Turn 3 again with the high speeds going down the back straight is tough.
50 years of experience tell you if someone is driving a Penske machine here, they've got a great chance of winning the Indianapolis 500. Juan Pablo early, you see immediately go from 2nd to 8th. This has really not been exactly a week about speed for the Penske machines.
No, they've been very consistent in all the practices, just not at the top of the timesheets. Like you were saying, you would think, being in a Penske machine, you would think they've always got a chance of getting on the front row and qualifying really well. But, you know, are they just trying to get in the top 9 here? I'm not too sure. But currently now, Elio is currently 6th and Will 7th with Pagenaud 3rd, and Monty just dropping out of that top 9 on his 2nd lap there.
So Juan Pablo Montoya, his first lap, 229.962 miles an hour. That would currently put him just ahead of Elio in spot number 6. And we've generally seen first lap or second lap fast, then it start to come back down a little bit, with the exception of the Penske machines. They have been very consistent, as you would expect from a group of that caliber. They've been pretty consistent over their course of 4 laps so far.
Yeah, they've been good. You can see actually here, Monty's actually the most inconsistent, and you can see that's why he's probably averaging down in 11th right now. And let's see if he gets through turn 1. Last lap he had to lift out of the gas a little bit, that big green bar at the bottom of the screen there. That time he managed to get through there flat, so he might be able to pick up a little bit more speed on this lap than he was on his last one.
229.613 is his 2-lap average halfway through the 10-mile run, to at least put him either in the fast 9 or where he knows he needs to come back for at least one more run, if not multiples of them, before we end qualifying for today at 7 o'clock local time. Again, this has been extended by an hour because we lost over 3 hours due to rain and still wet track conditions. Montoya's 3rd lap, again consistent, 229.400. Right now, 229.542.
Yeah, knowing Montoya, I'm not sure how much he's actually worried about getting in the top 9. Winning it last year from dropping all the way to last position, I'm not too sure whether he's actually even bothered about going for the top 9.
Juan Pablo's a guy that you just kind of go, all right, as long as he's in the field, he's got a chance to win.
He did it earlier this year at Barber on the road course. You know, he dropped to the back of the field or qualified poorly, I can't remember, but he was all the way back there and then came through to a top 5 finish, I believe.
Juan Pablo Montoya's time just outside of the top 9, and he really dropped his time on lap number 4, nearly 3 miles an hour slower from where he started. That 4th and final lap of 226.763, his 4-lap average just below 229. And right now, it's easy math to do whether you're in the fast 9 or not. 229 gets you in, 228 gets you out. And ready for his prize fight is James Hinchcliffe coming up.
He normally does a warm-up routine with skipping rope, but he doesn't seem to have it there with him. So I think he was trying to warm up a little bit. But this will be good. His teammate Alertian is currently P9. So this Schmidt-Peterson car has been very fast. Honda have seemed to up their game this year a little bit. Not too much with the aero kit, I would believe, more probably to do with the power. And Honda are mixing it with the Chevys today at least.
Hinch, 3rd in the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. Of course, at this time a year ago, he was not exactly concerned with how he was going to finish the season. He was concerned with a battle for his life, very much a freak injury the day after qualifying at the Indianapolis 500 a year ago. Piece in the car breaks. A part actually enters the side pod. You see him flip there, but there was actually a piece of debris that got inside the cockpit and struck his femoral artery. We are very lucky that James not just isn't racing a car these days at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but frankly is still with us.
That was an amazing job by the safety crew here. They were, tending to him straight away there at the track and putting IVs and blood back into him, and the whole crew down at Methodist Hospital, I believe, downtown, did a tremendous job treating him like on the way down to the hospital. And as soon as he got there, it was a horrific incident, and I've been talking to him quite a bit about his recovery, and he's back fitter and stronger and better than ever.
James would miss the remainder of last season, but has been in every race this year, and is such a integral part of the IndyCar series. Most of these guys, from a driver's standpoint, get the marketing that goes into the effort. I'm not sure there's a better marketer slash personality in the paddock than James Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, he calls himself the mayor of Hingetown, his website, hingetown.com, or Hammerdown Hingetown. There's beers and all sorts named after him. He's a character. Everybody loves him, from the guys that work out with him at Pit Fit Training. He's a leader. He's turned himself into a leader over a lot of these young drivers as well.
Well, needs to find a bit of a bigger hammer on lap number 1, 227.954. And again, that's not close enough at this point to really put him into that fast 9. This isn't like the old days where you would start waving this off and come back in for try number 2. You can get as many 4-lap runs as you can get in before the time constraints get you. So might as well get the full data download from 4 laps. And on lap number 2, much quicker, 229.170.
Yeah, before the ticker on the bottom there was coming up, we could see his hands on the steering wheel, changing dials and weight jacker positions, maybe even roll bars, and even through turn 1 there, the hardest corner, I would say, he was struggling. He wasn't being able to keep it flat. Everybody seems to be shifting with the wind conditions down the back straight, giving you a tailwind, making you shift up into 6th gear down the pit straight. See if he has to lift out of the gas going through turn 1 like he's done on every lap. Yeah, just a little bit of white there showing on the green throttle trace.
But lap number 3 was very consistent, 229.076. You see on your screen right now, he is just outside the top 9. If he can keep that speed level in lap number 4, he's got a chance to just inch into that fast 9.
Yeah, he's all the way up to 10th now. If he can keep his speed going, he's actually creeping up. He's still a couple of tenths off of P9. So he's got to find some time here.
He's through his last corner. We'll see the time as he crosses the yard of bricks. He appears to be just slow. In fact, you see it right there. Sam Schmidt of Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports, spot number 10, but that was really one bad lap, and he got faster every lap out at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So James Hinchcliffe, likely one more run in his future, as he is in spot number 10. He is about 0.2 of a mile an hour slower than his teammate, Michaela Lotion, who has the 9th and last spot in terms of the Fast 9. And one thing we've got so far here, Darren, is the fact that there's great balance right now between Honda and Chevrolet.
Yeah.
We have not talked about that for the better part of the last year and a half. But for the Fast 9 to this juncture, 5 Hondas, 4 Chevys.
Yeah, it's looking very close. Honda's obviously up their game from last year, where you saw it was a bit of a whitewash, you would say, from Chevy. And to be quite fair, the cars are looking very similar. It's going to be very difficult for people to spot the difference. We can maybe point out a few different aspects to the bodywork kits, from the Chevy kit to the Honda kit. There's a couple of different things you can see on the rear bumpers and the rear wing struts that hold the rear wing on. The Hondas have end plates on the rear wing, which are, you know, kind of hold the rear wing together, and the Chevy's totally clear. And some guys are running with extra bits of downforce and not. And like we were saying, if you're not going to be think you're going to get into that top 9, you'd probably just want to make sure it's nice and safe and you're not going to crash.
You see the car of Pippa Mann set to go through tech inspection. There are 6 cars remaining that, again, that have not gone through the first line, if you will, to get onto the track. 2 cars have waived. Chilton, because of the crash earlier today. Buddy Lazier, the 1996 winner of the Indianapolis 500. So Pippa Mann is on your screen. Carlos Munoz will be the next driver to actually take the track for Andretti Autosport. And Carlos, he's been good at this track, has he not?
Yeah, he seems to know his way around here. He's got a good car underneath him for the last couple of years. So it looks like Andretti's Autosport have got the setup and an engine and everything sorted out, because all their cars seem to be up there.
Team owner Dale Coyne with a quick word for Pippa Mann. One of 4 cars part of the Coyne stable during this month of May. The 2 full-time drivers, although the 18 and 19 drivers tend to change from time to time for the Coyne outfit here in IndyCar. But for this month, Connor Daly, and he's had a full-time ride this season, the number 18 machine. Gabby Chavez, the number 19 car. Brian Clausen, the USAC star, in the number 88 machine, the partnership with Jonathan Bird Racing. And then Pippa, she too has become kind of a stalwart at the one-off tie-in with the Susan G. Komen Foundation, the pink and white number 63 machine, not too far away from heading to the track here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, great effort always by Pippa and the Susan G. Komen Foundation to put this car in the field. They obviously do a lot of good work for breast cancer awareness, and Pippa's working hard all year.
Back to action at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That is Carlos Munoz, the return of the United Fiber and Data sponsorship to the Andretti Autosport team, and the return of fast speeds for Carlos Munoz. He's got a 2-lap average over 230 miles an hour, which clearly puts him in the Fast 9. And thinking about being in the upper half of that group. Lap number 3 about to be in the books for Carlos. And it's very similar, 230.323. That right now has him in the fastest 3 qualifiers on this first day of quals for the Indy 500.
Yeah, this should put him nicely inside the top 10 for now. Still a few more cars to go back out on the track to put their first effort in, and then I'm sure, like we've been saying, I'm sure a lot of those guys outside of the top 10 are going to be putting extra efforts in and trimming out. And after the first run, like we saw with Hinchcliffe just a while ago, lifting through turn 1, that's going to be costing him speed. So he's going to be wanting to go back and work with the engineers after he's had his photographs taken on the yard of bricks and making some changes to go faster.
Lap number 4 consistent as well. That's about as consistent of a run as we have seen from anybody so far this season. Munoz, a 4-lap average, 230.173. He currently is third quick to pit lane in Juan Pablo Montoya.
And you may have overheard him. He just said that was impressive. And we saw a smile from Juan Pablo Montoya, even though he only showed 13th on the pylon. And when you pulled into pits, you called the team and said, I'm sorry. What was the I'm sorry about?
I just turned 4 in the last, turn 1 in the last lap. Turn 3, I made a change on the car and it worked really well on the bars to make it turn more because the wind is really pushing us, and I made the same change. Like I made the change and it was actually on the nose really positive. So for the last lap, I made the same change, went in, and it was like, whoop, the front just gave up. They just told me it was really windy start in the last lap, so probably was that, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, to be honest with you, I think the next 2 hours are going to define, or next hour and a half, it's going to define who's in the Fast 9, you know? So there's really no rush. I mean, wherever we were going to end up, we knew we were going to have to take the car back and do another run. But it's a good idea where we are, you know? I think, you know, you look at what, you know, Carlos just run, you know, we need to average above 230. And right now the car is not fast enough for that.
All right, thank you, Juan. And if there's anyone who knows how to recover, that'd be Juan Pablo Montoya. Rick?
Yeah, standing by with James Hinchcliffe, and right off the bat we have to say he's not happy with his run. He felt he missed the gears. He can do better. He's going to go back out. But we have to talk about something and think about where you were a year ago and where you are today. There has to be such a sense of, I don't know, is it elation, relief, you know, relief? How would you describe this?
You know, I think tonight maybe I'll give myself a chance to do that. For the time being, it's, you know, it's great, and I'm really lucky to be able to stand here and be disappointed with the run we just did and not thinking about anything else. You know, it shows the competitive spirit still there, and, you know, I messed up that run a little bit. I got my timing on the gears wrong, and the gears in the car were fine. It was on me. It was probably my messiest run that I've ever had here. But, yeah, a bit disappointing.
And we've got a problem on the track.
Pippa man with the flat spot on the tire, making contact with the outside wall, then contact with the inside wall. It does not appear to be significant damage, and we hope that Pippa is okay, but clearly you would expect that means her day is done here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, it looked like she was getting loose there going into turn 2. She actually did a pretty damn good job in keeping it out of the wall majorly, and she actually just skimmed the outside wall, and then she didn't have any steering to keep it out of the inside wall, which got her front corner there. We'll see what happened on the replay there. Just coming out of turn 1 there, no problem. She turns into turn 2. No problem here. Then he just started to get loose right before the apex there. She corrected, kept it out of the wall, just skimmed the front nose and got the rear tire, broke the suspension, and she was passenger from then on in.
Obviously damage, but that could have been significantly worse.
It sure could, yeah. I mean, yeah, she was a little high there going through 2. She maybe tried to pinch it down and You can see there those big green flaps underneath the underbody of the rear. We haven't talked about that change from this year to last year. Last year we had a lot of cars getting airborne when they did turn around like that, spin and go backwards. And they've made these flaps that come up on the rear bodywork. So when this car goes backwards, you'll see on actual Dale's car here, they're actually bright green. You see them right there. And that would have kept that car on the ground and hopefully given her some more grip so she didn't go into the Armco in the air.
Translate the phrase dome skids because that's been talked about so much in preparation for this race.
Yeah, so the underside of the car right there where you can see Pippa's number underneath her backside and underneath the engine, the floor part of the car that is running and skimming and sparking, as you see when you're going around the track, is normally flat. Whereas this year, to try and improve safety and stop this, they've increased the dome skid.
More on Pippa Mann in just a moment. So Pippa Mann obviously is just kind of going to have a long night for her and her crew. What sort of work now will they have to do between now and when it is their time to go qualifying tomorrow at approximately 2:45 local time?
Yeah, well, hopefully she's going to get some practice time in before she has to go back out for qualifying, because like I said, these are the most trimmed out and the fastest you're ever going to be going in an IndyCar at any track on the IndyCar series schedule. So she probably wants to go and get some confidence back in there. Fortunately, there's still only 33 cars. Still plenty of guys that are lined up in pit lane looking like they're going to go again.
And let's now talk about where kind of the line of demarcation is. If you see where that red and white umbrella is on your shot, that is the front of the car for Graham Rahal. And he is the last car through the first pass through the qualifying line. Right before Pippa Mann, he wasn't in the qualifying line. Sage Karam, that was his spot to go. They elected not to go out. So again, we've had 3 cars of the 33 that elect to waive kind of that first attempt. Chilton, Buddy Lazier, and Sage Karam, which means there are 3 more cars to go before we potentially get to a second run through qualifying. Ed Carpenter, who is the 20C in the front of your screen, Connor Daly, and then Graham Rahal. And then we can have either teams that waived a first time or potentially are going out for a second opportunity.
Yeah, it looks like Lazier in the background there behind Graham. You can see Graham there just walking around with his undershirt on there and with his steak and shake car. And then behind him, it looks like that looks like Karam, Sage Karam, and Buddy Lazier looking like they're going to get their first run in. And then can't really see too much behind there.
Now you take a look at past pole winners in this Indianapolis 500-mile field. Of course, Elio Castro Neves going for a 4th win. He's already been on the pole 4 times. This has really not been a month about speed for the Penske cars, nor for Elio. Ed had it in back-to-back years in 13 and 14, and clearly his teammate in Joseph Newgarden has some speed because Joseph is currently second fast of the cars that have qualified to this point. And you see Dixon, Kanaan, and Tagliani. Tagliani kind of at a different place in his career, 5 years removed from that 2011 pole award. But Dixon and Kanaan still trying to find some speed. They're currently 13th and 16th of the guys that have gone to this point.
Yeah, that one for me is the shocker. Dixon didn't look like he had a very good consistent run, so he was probably struggling with setup, like pretty much everybody has been saying, like Montoya in his interview and also Hinch in his interview. And to be honest, you know, how casual the guys have been about, you know, well, we'll just get it in the field or we'll just get it in the top 9. Are they really committed to put in a fast run together? But they're probably going to have to be by the end of the day.
Ed Carpenter, a son of the Speedway, if you will, literally grew up around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. His qualification run is about to start. Cleanup continuing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway from the incident involving Pippa Mann, the number 63 Dale Coyne racing machine. Again, the damage could have been worse, but damage at this late stage of the game is not good in any way, shape, form, or fashion. It's going to be a long night and an early morning for that crew to get that ready for qualifying tomorrow, try to make their way into the field for the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500. Alongside Darren Manning, Greg Rakestraw with you from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Knowing that we are here in race number 100, what does it mean to you to be a part of the fabric of the history of this race?
Oh, it's huge. You know, there's going to be, you know, probably the crowd is sold out, the grandstands are sold out. I mean, normally you know, when this place is half full, it's amazing as at the best of times. You know, and obviously Ed's been a huge part of this. You see him there in the grandstands all the way up to now where he's got his own team under him.
Another qualifying run coming momentarily for Ed Carpenter. We had a look inside the cockpit of Ed Carpenter. What's going through his mind right now before he gets ready to go out and turn about 15 miles worth of laps?
Yeah, he's probably thinking a little bit about the Pipperman crash right there. It's never good to be going out for one of your runs right before while you're strapped in the car and ready to go. You've psyched yourself up. You're getting as calm as you possibly can and as relaxed as you possibly can. As you see, Buddy Lazier, 20 years removed, I believe, is that right? Since his win, he loves this place. There's his dad in the shirt that put the team together for the last minute for this race. Another stalwart for the Indianapolis 500 and loving being part of this race.
Buddy Lazier, 1996 Indianapolis 500 winner. He's been close a couple of times since then. These days it's more about just making the show and being a part of the spectacle for Buddy Lazier. His qualifying run comes in a matter of moments. Again, we were scheduled to start at 11 a.m. local time today. Qualification runs did not begin until about 2:20 this afternoon. And so far, 26 cars have completed a 4-lap qualifying run. Fastest of those to this point, Townsend Bell, 230.452 miles per hour. And right now, the driver on the bubble as far as the Fast 9 is concerned, Marco Andretti, 229.492 miles per hour. But how about this for the Andretti Autosport guys? And it, by their own very lofty standards, it's been kind of a rough year and a half for Andretti Autosport here in the IndyCar Series. They right now have 4 of the Fast 9.
Yeah, I work with the Andretti Autosports Indy Lights drivers. So, you know, been getting a bit of an inside scoop at the factory and at some of the tracks. And, yeah, they've been struggling. Marco has been on the back row of the grid a few times this year. So for them, this is awesome. When they came out at the beginning of the month, running laps, they were fast straight out of the box. And, you know, we spoke a couple of times to the engineers of actually Townsend's car. Works with the Indy Lights team as well. And they were, like, thinking everybody else was sandbagging. They couldn't believe how fast they were. So hopefully this is giving them some good confidence for the rest of the year.
But to show you just how we can talk about miles per hour difference, how about actual seconds? Right now from 1 to 10, the difference, 0.2 of a second per lap. That's how quickly things can change here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Weather forecast for tomorrow is fantastic. We knew today might be a bit of a compressed day, which is why we have extended qualifying for an additional hour. We will go until 7 o'clock Indianapolis time. Then tomorrow, practice for these cars between, say, noon and 2. Those in spots 10 through 33 today will qualify from 2:45 to 4:45 local time. The Fast 9 tomorrow at 5 o'clock here in Indianapolis. Ed Carpenter. You saw the graphic a moment or so ago. Pole sitter in 2013 and 2014. Track is clear for a qualifying attempt. Getting an all-day brief from Pippa Mann's machine has been collected. Here comes Ed Carpenter to a place he knows so well, the Yard of Bricks here at 16th in Georgetown. The Borg Warner Trophy goes along with perhaps the Stanley Cup as the most famous of its kind in all of professional sports, clearly the most famous in all of motorsports. And there was a reference in the opening of the show about being timeless. That's what those likenesses are.
Yeah. Every driver wants their face on there, and every driver that's not on there makes fun of their friends that are on there.
He names dating back to even Ralph De Palma back in 1915. Jan Bika standing by with Carlos Munoz.
In that qualifying position, because we had some interesting breaking news. Your team just came and said, even though you're third on the pylon right now, the last 2 laps there was a problem with the car.
Yeah, it was a little problem with the car. I cannot say really what it was, but I think we lost a little bit of performance there. You know, the goal of today is to be in the 5.9. You know, the UFD car has been so good the whole week, being the top all the time. You know, I feel great. Qualifying the goal is to be in the 5.9. It's going to be a crazy hour after everything is finished. People going in line 1. So that's why it's really nice, this kind of qualifying. It's a little bit stressful for us, but, you know, for the fans out here, it's really fun. So
let's see what we got. The important thing is the race. It's always nice to start on the pole for sure, but we'll see what's going on later tomorrow.
But you said the biggest difference for you was lap number 1. What happened in lap 1 that slowed you?
Yeah, I just had a big understeer into one. You know, the conditions today has been so difficult with the wind direction from 1 to 2, 3. Car changed so much that you have to play a lot with your tools in the cockpit. All the lap you are playing, downshifting, upshifting. So it's hard qualifying. People think it's hard, but you are 4 laps like this, you know. I will see what's going on.
All right, well, there'll be more of those 4 laps like this coming up, Alan.
Jan, thank you very much. And Ed Carpenter, not where he wants to be on the speed chart. Really, he's not had a great week from a speed standpoint. What did you see even coming out of turn 1?
Yeah, just what everybody seems to be complaining about there going through here in turn 1. There's a huge tailwind which is pushing the cars super fast going into that corner. You see them up into 6th gear and heading down now all on the back straight into 4th gear. Here's a replay of him coming out of turn 1 in his first lap, getting to the top of the grey line there, nearly hits the wall, pushing up there with understeer. That's what Montoya, Hinchcliffe, everybody's been complaining about. So we'll see some fast times. If they can sort that handling out through turn 1, we should see some times tumbling here. It's coming up soon on their second run.
And this is really almost kind of a test session for him. And again, knowing you've got a teammate in Newgarden that is second quick, you can go to a teammate setup, can you not?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether they will so much. It seems like these guys up at the top of the timesheets were out earlier this morning, or early this afternoon, should I say. Maybe, like Montoya said, halfway through his run, it seemed like the team said the wind all of a sudden picked up, and that's where he got his big moment on the last lap. And are these guys that are running now running in harder conditions? So is the track even going to get any faster for those top 9 guys?
Last year, Ed partnered with both Sarah Fisher and Wink Hartman for Carpenter Fisher Hartman Racing. This year, it's back to being an Ed Carpenter Racing shop. Joseph Newgarden, the full-time driver. Ed driving on the ovals in the series, which means this is his second race of the season. Got to race in Phoenix back on the first Saturday night in April. Through 3 laps, just 227.346 miles per hour. Of course, Ed, we mentioned the fact he was the pole winner in 13 and 14. Last year was anything but. He had multiple cars get airborne or was airborne multiple times during practice for the 99th running of the Indy 500.
Yeah, and he was one of the vocal ones about safety of these cars and making them change and getting some better safety devices on them from when they are going to spin around inevitably. You know, when you're qualifying, and you know, Ed here in 19th place, he won't be happy with that. You can see he's running quite a little bit more downforce than others with those extra downforce devices on the rear bumpers. Whereas you can see here on Graham's car, there's nothing on that rear section behind the rear tire. Even though it's a Honda, they can run the extra little winglets.
So Graham Rahal about to hit the race course, which means that Connor Daly kind of got out of order in terms of the qualifying. But in terms of Graham Rahal, there's a bit of a family history here. His dad, Bobby, the winner, 1986, a race that was postponed by 6 days because of rain. The first live national and international telecast of the Indianapolis 500. And there you see Bobby and his role with Graham. It took him a while to kind of figure out what was going to make the best, not only father-son relationship, but frankly, owner-driver relationship. And seemingly last year, Darren, the family found that sweet spot.
Yeah, absolutely. He was struggling a little bit with other teams, Ganassi's junior effort, and then coming back, and Bobby stepping to one side, and then not being around the team for his son, and then coming back. And yeah, he's all of a sudden found his feet. The team have found their feet. I don't know if they've changed personnel or what's been going on, but my goodness, they've been the lead for Honda coming up here over the last year and a half.
The fact that Graham was in the running for the points championship with the engine disparity a season ago, it was clearly his finest season as a driver, and still a young guy, still in his mid-20s, but because he had been around the series for so many years, the concern was, hey, is this the best we're going to see from Graham? And clearly, thankfully, the answer was no.
No, it's great to have a good American up at the front of the field and in the international eye with all, you know, people like the Brazilians and Dixon and all these guys. And America's needed needed a top running IndyCar driver at the top level, and he's really stepped up the game. Like I said, with Honda, he was doing things that all the other Honda teams were not able to complain about. Saying, well, if Graham's able to win with the Honda aero kit and engine, then why can't you? And looking to be struggling here a little bit. Looked like they maybe missed out on the setup. He was even lifting a little bit through turn 2 as well, which is nobody's really done that apart from Pippa maybe so far. So see if he can make some changes in the car and make that car turn a little bit better through 1 and 2.
2:28.654, which is just not enough to be flirting with that fast 9 unless he can find a difference in lap number 2 and keep that going into lap number 3 and lap number 4. Amazing to think that Graham has been around this race and this race course for nearly a decade at this point.
Yeah, crazy. He still seems like one of the young guns in the series, and he still is.
To that point, there now clearly is this wave of young American drivers, whether it's Marco Andretti, who first ran this race amazingly 10 years ago, whether it's Joseph Newgarden, whether it's Graham. The next generation is here. Now it's just seeing that group, and especially Rahal has done it. To a lesser result, Newgarden has done it. But can that generation continue to be winning races on a consistent basis here in the IndyCar Series?
Yeah, I think you know, the guys like Newgarden and Rahal definitely have. You know, Marco has been the disappointing one, but you know, the team that he's running with, you know, he's Andretti Autosport, of not giving him the machinery that he's needed to be up there. Really, to be honest, this is the first time that they're showing that they can qualify at the front of the field.
Lap number 2, not a great one for Rahal. He lost a mile an hour and lost 2 additional miles per hour in lap number 3. This is not going to be a fast 9 worthy run. He'll complete lap number 4, but then it's back to the drawing board for Rahal, Lanigan, Letterman Racing.
A lot of owners on there, and it's great to see sponsors on cars returning a little bit to the field. You know, Steak and Shake have been a great sponsor and partner of this team over the last couple of years now, and doing a lot of promotions for the series. But yeah, like you say, this is not his finest, even lifting a little bit through turn 4 there. So either a little too trimmed out or just missing the balance.
He can save the original steak burger for after the qualifying run, not what he was hoping for. Currently 23rd quick, 226.916, third slowest of the Hondas. And again, he'll be back onto the track, you would assume, at some point in time in the near future, trying to find a bit more speed.
Yeah, lifting through 3 of the 4 turns there, where the guys up at the front doing the 230s were flat the whole way around, 100% throttle the whole way around the track. They definitely missed the setup there, and he's even a mile an hour slower than his rookie teammate, Spencer Pigot.
Connor Daly, supposed to be on the track, but he's not yet, and he's standing by for a word in pit lane.
Why?
It's just a kind of a precautionary thing. They don't know what happened to Pippa's car. There might have been a rear wing end fence failure, so just done because of safety, I guess. We don't need any wrecked race cars, so I don't know. I haven't got much more of an explanation other than that yet.
Of course, you're teammates with Pippa Man. They've got the car back now, and you feel that they found a failure. They just want to be absolutely certain that yours doesn't have the same issue.
Yeah, our team manager Darren got back there and just called us on the radio just as we sat there. You know, considering that they think that's what happened. So yeah, I mean, got to respect the decision because it's above my pay grade, that's for sure. So you know, I'm happy to listen to them, and we'll get a shot at it, I guess. I don't know how it works, so maybe sometime later.
Well, the good news is the conditions might be improved by the time you get back out. Thank you, Connor.
Hope so.
Connor Daly, again, he too a young man that has grown up not just in this area but at this facility. There you see his father Derek, former Indy 500 competitor. And here we see kind of the result of the Pippa Man issue. And yes, he's a teammate, so the Dale Coyne guy is saying, hey, this is what we got to check. What are you seeing there, Darren?
I'm just seeing it. There's a bit of debris in the smoke there just above her left rear. Is that maybe what Connor was, you know, alluding to with regards to a failure of the rear wing parts? Hopefully it wasn't, because you don't want to be having anything, any failures of any sort, let alone the aerodynamics that are sticking the car to the ground.
It has been a good month, though, for Connor. He was 6th in the Grand Prix last Saturday, led laps in that race.
Yeah.
including a tremendous pass of Helio Castroneves going to turn one of the road course. So doesn't want to make a mistake here. They'll try to get him back out a little bit later in the course of the day. Here is Sage Karam. As of now, this is his only race of the 2016 season, trying to carry on the tradition of drivers from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. He is a young guy. He's got confidence. He's got skill. He just needs a full-time ride. He's here with the Dreyer and Reinbold Kingdom Racing combined effort. Currently 14th quick on lap number 2 of this qualifying effort.
Yeah, this will be it's a one-car effort. They're even trying different things, even for a one-car effort. You can see they're running 2 different side pods, like the Penske guys. The right side pod is the high downforce one, it looks like, and the left side is the low downforce one. So they're not afraid to try different things. You know, Dreyer and Reinbold have got a long history of being in IndyCar racing, and Sage has definitely shown speed, and he'll be desperate to show all the other teams what he can actually do.
There is a common bond of lineage in terms of Nazareth, Pennsylvania, the Andretti family, state of Pennsylvania, where Roger Penske's operation was based out of Reading for so many years. But it wouldn't take me being from Pennsylvania just to listen to what the Andrettis and what Roger Penske was doing over the course of the season. Consistent laps from Sage in his first 2 efforts, 228.5, lost a little bit in lap number 2, 228.0, lap number 3, lost a little bit more, 227.682. Again, honestly, probably not a contender for the Fast 9. That's okay. He's just trying to get some data about speed while he's on this run.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you can see him running in 16, 17. Just gentle lifter on the gas through turn 1, so it doesn't look like he's going to get that much more time out of the car if he goes back to the garage and tweaks on the setup a little bit, where you saw like Graham, he was lifting massively in 1, a little bit in 2, and a little bit in 4 as well.
My guess would be if there was some general practice time, Sage would get back on the track. Yeah. I'm not sure for a qualifying run. He's going to say, you know what, this is good enough. Let's go qualify the car tomorrow. And he lost about a half a mile an hour every lap he was out there. His overall 4-lap average, 227.821, good for 16th quick.
Yeah,
the pits and Graham Rahal.
Oh, but let's talk about everybody at home. We could see you're reaching down and making adjustments in the cockpit. What are you doing? What are you trying to achieve?
Just trying to get a balance. I mean, you know, all week in qualifying trim, we've been really poor, like really, really bad, and which shows our car relies so heavily on aerodynamic grip versus mechanical. So in the car, you know, I'm trying to soften the front bar for the one end and the weight jacker left to get the car to turn more aggressively. But then right out of turn 1, I had to go back for turn 2 because I was really loose in turn 2. And then in 3 and 4, I had to stiffen the bar because, again, turn 3 in particular, almost lost it there a couple times. So, yeah, I mean, it's just really frustrating. Our car, it's like when the front tire grip goes, it's gone. I mean, there's no, even with lifting, it doesn't come back. And so it's been really bad. I mean, I don't know what to say. Our race car seems good, but our qualifying car has been atrocious all week, so it's frustrating.
All right, once again, Graham Rahal obviously will be in the race, and hoping that race setup will be better.
If the qualifying car's not good, Darren, and you've had a guy with the pedigree that Graham has had the last 2 years, do you worry about the qualifying setup at this point? Just start already thinking your mind about race trim after tomorrow?
Yeah, I think he's done. I think the one thing that he will be worried about is that mechanical setup, because even if his car is dependent totally on aero, which you pile on for the race, so you can keep your tires underneath you for the whole 500 miles, or the 30 lap stint, or whatever it tends to be. You know, that downforce helps, but inevitably underneath that, the car is still poor, and the mechanical balance is still poor. So he's probably going to be worried towards the end of his run that his tires are going to be going away.
We showed you, of course, Bobby Rahal winning this race back in 1986. He's won it as a car owner as well. Buddy Rice back in 2004. And speaking of buddies that have won here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Buddy Lazier is on the race course, and again, not finding great speed so far in his first qualifying lap, but for Buddy, again, it's about making the race and running as long in the race as possible next Sunday.
Yeah, obviously this is a one race team effectively. It's not like you put in a 3rd or 4th car in one of the major teams. This is a bunch of guys that have just been brought together for this one weekend. The car itself just built for the one race, so it's always going to be a struggle at 230 mile an hour around this track. He's doing a good effort just to make laps.
You're into the numbers game. Buddy won back in 1996 with Hemmelgarn Racing in the number 91 machine. He has used that number more often than not. was in number 95 and he had a 5th place finish back in 2005. Number 4 today that is going unused this year, but has been driven by so many great drivers in years gone by. But he finds a bit more speed in lap number 2. That number up to 225.473 miles per hour, but still clearly towards the back of the field. And again, not surprising for a team with limited resources and limited track time.
Yeah, but pretty good effort when you see the guys at the back of the field. Tagliani, Hawksworth, Wilson, Brabham. You've got KV Racing and AJ Foyt Racing back there. And he's running right there with their same time. So this isn't a too bad effort at all.
Working on lap number 3 of his 4-lap qualifying average. You see that he is being listed in 30th. He is the 30th car that would have a full 4-lap qualifying run as long as he completes this. The ones that haven't, Pippa Mann, who crashed during her qualifying effort, Max Chilton, who crashed during practice, and then you just heard Connor Daly, because of the teammates out with Pippa Mann, just want to make sure they go through a full engineering debrief, check everything out, to make sure that's not kind of a team-wide part failure, something that's just on the number 63 car.
Yeah, not a good feeling as a teammate to see your teammates probably running exactly the same setup, you know, exactly the same parts on the aerodynamic side of things. So that was, you know, probably good choice from Dale Coyne. A wise head on his shoulders there for sure, pulling Connor out of the car, out of the line, as it were, just to check things through.
Buddy Lazier, 224.341 miles per hour, his qualifying speed. There you see the team from Max Chilton's ride trying to put a car back together. He's likely to go qualifying tomorrow here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 30 cars are in the field. Could have more qualifying runs, perhaps some practice coming up as well here at 16th and Georgetown, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This has long been not just an American celebration of speed, but a world celebration of speed. And look at the various countries represented. I'll quickly do the math for you. More international drivers in this race than there are American drivers in the field.
Yeah, it's you know, this is a worldwide event. It's, you know, we say it all the time. This is the biggest sporting event in the world, not just motor racing event. So, you know, racing drivers from all over the world. There's a very strong contingent from the guys that have raced in Europe. A lot of these guys from Canada and Brazil and France and Australia, you know, those guys have come over to Europe, you know, to try and get to the pinnacle of Formula One. And but when they don't get there, there's obviously only limited amounts of drives available. This is the big one that they all want to shoot for.
Amongst those countries with one driver each, Russia, New Zealand, amongst some of those that are also representing this field. It's got to do your heart good to see 4 countrymen from England that are in the field this year too.
Yeah, it was good. When I was back racing, there was 4 or 5 of us with, you know, Dan Weldon and Dario Franchitti, you know, so yeah, it's always nice to have that representation. And there's a lot of English history here from Jim Clark, Nigel Mansell, you know, so yeah, it was very, it's always very good to see, but yeah, nobody in pit lane right now, Greg. What's going on?
This is the 50th anniversary of Jim Clark's win here, correct?
Yep, I believe so, yeah. Dario's actually driven that car that he went in the Lucky Soul. So, yeah, he had the privilege of driving that car.
As of now, no one lined up as a taker for qualifying, which means we could see the course go open for practice, trying to find a little more speed before somebody could go qualifying again. We were set to qualify until 6 o'clock local time. That window has now been extended until 7 o'clock. What are the engineers and drivers doing as we speak?
I think they're probably waiting for the wind to die down after all their drivers have been complaining, as they have literally every interview we saw, right? And even on the graphics on the screen, when the drivers were, you know, running their laps, they were lifting, they were adjusting settings on the steering wheel, the weight jacker, the roll bars. They were doing a lot of adjustments. So it doesn't really surprise me that there's no cars in the pit lane ready for qualifying. They're all in the garage back behind Gasoline Alley there, going on the flatbed, you know, making some changes. But hopefully not too many, because if the wind dies down and the conditions change in the next hour or two, those settings might have been perfect.
Buddy Lazier, about 25 years removed from being a rookie, and then some here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But there should be 5 rookies in the upcoming field for the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500. Again, Max Chilton, you probably won't see him back on track today because of the wreck. You hope to see him back tomorrow. He's got a full season ride with Chip Ganassi Racing this year. Spencer Piggott, Matthew Brabham, Alexander Rossi. Brabham and Piggott, young men that have come up through the Mazda road to Indy, that have run lights and Pro Mazdas, USF 2000. Chilton and Rossi, both guys that come from a Formula One background, having run Formula One races and now applying their craft here in the IndyCar Series. Stephen Wilson, he's got a special story. And of course, for Stephen Wilson, he is honoring the memory of his late brother, Justin. You will not find a more well-liked and respected driver than Justin in his days in the paddock. Of course, we lost Justin, kind of a freak accident at Pocono last August. And Steph's racing career had kind of started to tail away, but now he is racing in memory of his brother, which is great to see him back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We showed you Buddy Lazier just a moment ago, the 1996 winner of the Indianapolis 500. He is the last car to complete a 4-lap qualifying run. And I'm sure there's a little more speed to be found, but I'm sure he's just happy to be in the field at this point is Buddy. We'll try to catch up with him coming up in just a matter of moments. You see some cars there in their pit stalls as far as practice is concerned, but nobody further down the track thinking about the qualifying run just yet.
No, they've cleared the banners away and the Armco barriers. They've moved them to one side, so they look like they're going to get ready for some practice runs here. You see the guys down there by the Chevy pace car down there. Is that Camaro or something like that? I don't know, but yeah, they look like they're getting ready to go practice here.
Right now, the driver on the bubble as far as the Fast 9 is concerned is Marco Andretti, 229.492. Again, 4 of the 9 are Andretti Autosport drivers. 3 of the 9 are Penske drivers. The other Penske car that is not in the Fast 9 is Juan Pablo Montoya. He is currently in spot number 12. Others that deserve mention from that Fast 9, and maybe both a bit of a surprise. Joseph Newgarden, second quick from the Ed Carpenter Racing effort. But how about Oriol Servia, 6th fast today from the Schmidt-Peterson team?
Yeah, doing a fantastic job. He was one of the guys early out, so maybe got a bit of a break with the wind, maybe picking up towards the end. As we see the Ganassi guys here frantically with the engine away from the chassis there. So they're getting ready for tomorrow.
The driver of that 8 car last year was Sage Karam. Let's get to him right now.
Lap of the entire week. But more importantly, you said it's such a relief to be done with this. Explain.
Yeah, no, I mean, qualifying is always the most stressful thing, but nowadays we got to do it 2-3 times. Last night, I'm sitting there in bed just thinking, man, I just hope this thing sticks for 4 laps. Now I just did it. I got to go to bed again tonight saying, I hope this thing sticks for 4 more laps.
Well, it stuck well, and once again, you're 16th. Now think about this. This is the kid born in 1995. How about the guy who won in 1996?
Yes, and of course for him, for Buddy Lazier, as you mentioned there, Rick, this certainly was a solid run and the fastest lap that you've done so far in practice, but the car went loose. As a guy with a lot of experience, even trying to do 4 laps when the car's getting loose, the rear stepping out, how difficult?
Well, yeah, and you try to balance it. It's a different rule package this year, so we get to go again tomorrow to set the field. Today you set the field, tomorrow your starting position. So we wanted, we're a small team and we have limited data set. That was a really good data for us. We'll be better tomorrow. But yeah, it was loose and we were out of adjustments, but I can't thank my guys enough. We've come a long way in a short amount of time for a small team. So far so good. We wanted better, but I think we can get it tomorrow.
Well, he's got another opportunity tomorrow to try to move that speed up. And again, a loose car on a hot day takes sometimes an Indy 500 winner to hang on to it.
Jan, thank you very much. Buddy Lazier, all smiles, as well he should be for his efforts just moments ago here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So it was pretty much all qualifying for the span of about 2.5 hours. Now it appears we're going back to practice mode here in the very near future at 16th and Georgetown. About how many laps will these teams kind of need to turn in practice before they feel, okay, we've got it? We'll talk more about that in a matter of moments. Let's talk about the points race through 5 of 16 events. And Darren, help me out here. I cannot remember a driver being this dominant this early in the season as Simon Pagenaud has been.
It's been amazing, hasn't it? We've had road courses and the oval at Phoenix and then coming here as well, and he's just been unstoppable. We talked about it before we came on air. He must have the best chemistry with his engineer right now.
He won his second Indianapolis Grand Prix and 3 runnings of the event a week ago. He has not finished worse than second in a race so far this season. He is fastest of the Penske cars so far, 4th in terms of the Fast 9. For those veterans you all see behind him, frankly, you don't think that much about the points when you're here. You think about winning the Indy 500. But how do you try to take a chunk out of that points lead once you get through the month of May?
Yeah, you're just thinking when you're Dixon or Montoya or Elio in second place, and then you got back to 5th and 6th, you know, over 100 points off, and Will and Hunter Ray down in over 30 points behind. You know, you're just thinking of race wins now. You're so far behind. You can see, you know, he didn't have a pole last year, and now already he's got 3.
He frankly had a better year in his last year with Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports than he did in his first year for Team Penske. How much of that learning curve is there as a driver when you go to a new team, even one that is as talented and deeply resourced as Team Penske?
Yeah, well, you like to think as a driver you've got the confidence in yourself that there isn't an adjustability process, but, you know, clearly you can see there through the first 5 races of 15 to 16, an average finish of 1.4. That's crazy. You know, and he's just had a great building year last year. You know, he wasn't even a bad year, really, last year with Penske. You would have said it was a good first year. But this year has just been phenomenal. It looks like he's carrying on here at the 500.
So currently 4th fastest is Simon Pagenaud, one of 5 cars in the 230 mile per hour range in terms of their 4-lap qualifying averages. Again, alongside Darren Manning, Greg Rakestraw with you. Thank you so much for joining us for this first day of 2 days of qualifications for the upcoming 100th running of the Indianapolis 500, which, of course, will be held here next Sunday afternoon. Again, these teams know that they're trying to get into that Fast 9 today, but whatever that speed, whatever that time is today, they got to come back and do it again tomorrow. What sort of adjustments will they have overnight and early tomorrow morning?
Well, I think they'll probably leave the actual settings overnight. They'll be making a lot of changes this afternoon for some more changes, but for tomorrow morning, the conditions might be different.
So again, back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now you see the qualifying line empty as of now. Take a look to your left. You see some of the new grandstands here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. There's not much need for change here at the racing capital of the world. You see that sign there on the pagoda, Epic Race, Epic Place. There's one that mirrors that. Downtown Indianapolis on the side of the JW Marriott. The, simply put, largest Borg-Warner trophy ever put together. It's a temporary part of the skyline here in the city of Indianapolis, the world capital of motorsports. So just 2 hours remaining in terms of both qualifying and practice time. There could be a combination of the two here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. How different might weather conditions be between now and the time that we close up shop at 7 o'clock?
Yeah, I think for the teams they'll be looking at the wind primarily. You know, that's one of the big things, big factors when you're running so little downforce on the cars for qualifying trim. You heard nearly every driver complain about turn 1 and having to lift through turn 1. So they're probably just sitting on the pit wall, waiting for conditions, waiting for a setup change from the engineers. You know, so they'll be, and if they're going to go out tomorrow, they're going to be looking at that again.
And are we going to see you out to make a qualifying run? Can you make it today?
I think maybe at a big push we could have got it out today, but there's no real rush, and we want to get it together properly. The Chip Ganassi guys are the best out there, and we'll get the car built tonight, ready for tomorrow. Because yeah, we're going to miss out on the top 9, but I think on the whole it might have been a little bit of a push to get into the top 9, just the way we are at the moment. So yeah, we're focused on tomorrow, and at the end of the day, I'm still going to be racing in the Indy 500, so it's all good.
All right, let's walk us back through. You've had time to see the video. You've thought about it. What happened in that accident?
It all happened very quickly. I could tell I was a little bit forward on balance, maybe a bit too much, but from my experience, I don't know whether it was too much or not. I now know it was too much, and my teammates since I've found out, came in because they thought it was too much, and they've got the experience. So, you know, it takes time to learn, and yeah, I'll learn from it. There's not much I could have done. I went in flat. If you're not pushing, then you're not really a racing driver. And it was fine at one point, and then it was all gone wrong a split second later. So, you know, I wouldn't have really changed anything. I've now learned what's too much, and I'll come in next time.
And hopefully that lesson will help him as he goes through the rest of the week here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And once again, it's important to point out the team didn't have another car built up, so they're having to take everything, put it all back together into a new chassis, and get it ready to go out there and make a run tomorrow. Jan?
So Max Chilton, Formula One experience.
I had confirmation that there was an issue with the car. I guess I should first start with, are you okay? Did you get banged up?
No, I'm absolutely fine. It was actually a pretty light hit, and thankfully I was able to have really quick hands, slow down the rotation, minimize the damage when we hit. So, you know, it's really frustrating for the team, but I did the right stuff.
So they have confirmed with you that there was a failure on the rear wing end fence.
Yeah, we had a rear wing end fence failure, and unfortunately, you know, if you don't have any downforce on the back of the car going 230 odd miles an hour when you start to turn it, it comes around quite quickly.
Okay, well, that tends to be right over her left shoulder. I'll quickly show you what she's referring to. Here is the rear wing, and the end fence would be located here. The end fence didn't come off, but it failed in a way that it folded back. That would allow the air to spill off, and she would lose that downforce. That's why they pulled her teammate, Connor Daly, out to be sure that they could check that. INDYCAR is talking about now issuing a bulletin to all Honda teams to check these end fences just in case.
Jan, thank you very much. And Darren, your trained eyes saw that immediately, not just on the replay of a part flying off, but literally as she was coming out of one and heading towards two, you noticed that straight away.
Yeah, you could see the rear wing end plate, like Jan was talking about. It actually folded in front of the rear wing. It was actually blocking air even going onto the wing. So she lost all her downforce, and then that had flicked off halfway through the corner as well. So, yeah. Totally lost all rear grip as we go through some of the past winners here.
Nothing but greats here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So we're back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, starting to see more cars kind of being wheeled out from a practice standpoint. And that clearly, with the conversation with Pippa, you can see why Connor Daly was told, and wisely so, hold off, let's double check to make sure this is working properly. This is not a different piece of the aerodynamics that the Hondas have versus, say, the Chevrolets might have, to make sure this doesn't affect anybody else. So the wise move, kind of saving both money and race cars, and maybe most preciously right now, time.
Yep, time and drivers as well. You don't want to get an injury or, you know, anything bad like that happen to the drivers as well. But yeah, you heard they actually placed a bulletin of all the Honda parts, like we were talking earlier about the differences in body kits between the Chevys and the Hondas, and that's one part that the Hondas do run that the Chevys do not. So they've told all the Honda guys to check their parts. Some guys might be running their own parts, but quite a lot of the Honda guys will be running a Honda rear wing.
Speaking of the Chevrolet and the Honda battle so far, and it has been rather one-sided to this point. All the poles, all the wins belong to Chevy. Then again, Pagenaud drives a Chevy, so it's been kind of tilted in that favor.
Penske and Ganassi are both Chevy, so they're like the two most winningest teams, and you know, they're holding on to all the points.
If you even though separate just poles and wins, it's maybe the top 5 and top 10 that end up being maybe a bit more concerning if you're a Honda fan.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what was surprising today. You see four Chevys and 5 Hondas in the top 9 so far. So Honda have definitely pulled out the stops here for the 500.
And despite the fact that Pagenaud won last week, it was still a much more balanced race as far as up and down the scoring pylon. You'd see a Chevy here, but a Honda there. Again, Pagenaud seemingly is on a different level than every other Chevy driver or any other Honda driver. But up and down the field, we saw more balance last Saturday, and we're seeing it throughout the week in terms of speeds, and clearly again today.
Yeah, over the winter, Honda did get a compensation or dispensation or whatever you want to call it to actually upgrade their road course package for downforce levels to try and help match Chevy and make the racing a little bit closer. But I don't think it's just that. Like we were just saying, you know, Chevy have some very good race teams and drivers. You know, they have 4 Penske guys who are all going to have a chance of winning on any given weekend. You've got 4 Ganassi guys, or 4 Ganassi guys. So that's the top 8 right there nearly every weekend, just because of the team and drivers. So are Honda actually, you know, down on performance to Chevy? You get people like, you know, Bell and Newgarden and those guys up there, but you can see here the Penske guys.
Will Power, laps led 0. Now, he did not run in the first race at St. Petersburg, actually qualified on the pole, but then it was determined he was actually doing that from suffering a concussion from earlier in the weekend. It's been a bit of a rough season for Power. He was a non-factor in the Grand Prix. Trying to change that here in the 500. So again, Simon Pagenaud carrying the flag for everything IndyCar these days, but especially in Team Penske. But then again, you look at those average finishes. They're all averaging top 10 finishes.
Yeah, there's not a bad driver in there. You know, obviously Montoya is a pedigree unto himself, and you know, wherever he starts or ends up becoming, you know, he knocked his rear wing off or got in contact on the first lap of the 500 last year, dropped to last place, and came through and win the thing. So I mean, you know, they've got Chevy. They may have an advantage in that, but they're also the best team and best drivers.
We had a conversation with Max Chilton, and both he and Alexander Rossi are still young drivers and are rookies in this series, but yet they have driven in Formula One. What does that level of experience do for these guys cutting their teeth here in American open wheel racing?
Well, I think it's actually showing how competitive the American racing is here in IndyCar, and you know, they've been at the top level in Formula One with some good teams, and you know, that's been some good experience. But it is very road course. There's no oval racing for them, and as Max was saying in his interview there, he didn't know. They just literally didn't know how much too much was. How much front grip do I need? And I want more. I remember when Ryan Briscoe came to Ganassi's when me and Scott Dixon were teammates, and he was the same you know, philosophy. He'd come over from Formula One and hadn't got any oval experience, and me and Scott would sometimes be sitting in the debrief room with him and how are you driving this thing with so much front grip? He said, I don't know. I don't know any bad. And then he hits the wall because he's too loose, just like Chilton did this morning. It's, oh, okay. Now I see what you guys are doing with regards to not too much front grip.
We had a brief shot of Sebastian Bourdais, and he had a very brief Grand Prix of Indianapolis. It lasted really less than a turn. He would get back on the track, but would finish next to last in 24th position a Saturday ago. 19th fast today, and again, even hearing from him before we went on track today, he didn't think he'd have a Fast 9 car. So if he's with helmet in hand in pit lane, they've got the car back on pit lane. What are they trying to find here in maybe a practice session?
Yeah, they're going to be trimming out for sure and trying to do some qualifying setup work. I wouldn't think they're going to do much race stuff because they are going to be qualifying again tomorrow, and they've got more race practice next week. You know, I think they'll be taking some downforce out of this car, trying to get that balance right. I'm sure he was lifting in one the way he was. There's definitely some balance issues. This is a good team. You can see there they're running the high downforce side pods. You can see that the flick up in front of the rear wheel. That is actually the road course, or part of the road course downforce package. That's a lot more downforce, but also a lot more drag. So is he compensating for an ill-handling car by putting all this downforce in? He can probably find some speed from it, but it's going to be a lot harder to drive.
That number 11 car, not that car specifically, but that team, of course, tasted the milk at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with Tony Kanaan some 3 years ago. Sebastian Bourdais, has raced across the world. The last dominant driver in the days of Champ Car nearly a decade ago. Of course, he too spent time in Formula One as well. He has won here on a road course event as part of the build-up for the Brickyard 400 a few years ago, did Sebastian Bourdais, looking for a first win at the Indianapolis 500.
By with the man who is second fastest so far, and that's Joseph Newgarden. Had a great clean run. But before we talk about your run and what your plans are for today, they were just talking about their first memory of coming here to the Indianapolis 500 and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What's your first memory here?
I remember being here. 2012 was it was a very eye-opening year for me. I think the best memory I have is having a bad fast car. I had a really good race car that year with SFHR, and it was my first time. I was a rookie. We were a single car. Well, it wasn't a single car. I had Brian Clausen as my teammate that year, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, you talk about getting thrown into the deep end. You really hope to have a lot of knowledge and support around you. And I did. I had a lot of good people around me, and it's just tough getting a hold of this place. Even being here 4 or 5 years, I think even a guy like Elio Castroneves, he's always learning something when he comes here. And, this year has been particularly difficult. You can see everyone really struggling in qualifying. So, yeah, I remember those jitters I had, all those nerves, and just trying to figure it out as a rookie.
All right, let's talk about the day and what you're going to do from here on out. Will you go back again? When will you make that decision as to whether to go back out?
Well, I hope I don't have to go back out. I mean, we had a pretty decent first run. I wish we had a little bit more speed in it, but the good thing was it was consistent. The preferred car has been fast, all month, I think, really. We haven't had to really search for the speed, so that helped us a bit. But we had a good, clean, consistent run. That's what we needed to get up on the board. I'm hoping that's enough. If it is, we're not going to go back out. If we start seeing the track get faster, we start seeing people bump into the top 9, if we start getting bumped, then we'll think about it. I mean, I'm ready to go back out and go quicker if we need to, but hopefully it doesn't come to that.
All right, Joseph Newgarden back here in the garage area, hoping he stays here for the rest of the day. Jan?
And Rick, speaking of the garage area, we saw the heavy crash for Max Chilton in turn number 2. So what's involved in going to a spare car? Well, in this series, you can't have a spare car with an engine in it. You have to split the car open. This is the gearbox or transmission. Then, of course, the spare chassis, but you're not allowed to come with the racetrack with it installed. You can see in the background, that is his Chevrolet engine that he used in the primary car. So you split the car apart. The engine actually is what is known as a stressed member. In other words, it's part of the pieces of the puzzle that have to be bolted to the back of the fuel tank. This is where the oil tank goes here. Full engine, powers the gearbox that holds the whole piece together. It's kind of a integral system that keeps it stiff, keeps it safe, but they do not allow you to have a car ready to go with a spare engine to keep the cost down. So this will be a long night for Ganassi crew.
Jan Beekes, thank you very much. And of course, no one explains the technical side of this series better than Jan does. So when we have a little downtime at the track, you are learning at the foot of Dr. Jan, oftentimes is the case. So you see Newgarden's car is there, but in talking in the pit lane, it didn't exactly seem that he was really, if he needed to go back on the course, he would. Doesn't necessarily want to, and I'm not so sure, given the fact that he's a full mile an hour faster, and 8 guys from outside that top 9 have to be better than him to bump him. I'm not sure he's going to need to go back out there today.
No, but I think the team might be saying, yeah, we'll go and do some race runs. Maybe their race setup is just a matter of bolting some downforce on the car, which means their car is pretty damn good. A lot of teams might, stiffen the car up or make it a little bit freer with roll bars and springs and things. But generally, if you've got a good race car underneath you, you just trim the downforce out, and it should just go faster and faster the more you trim out. Well, when we heard Graham Rahal there earlier saying his mechanical setup is not good, and it's only good when he piles the downforce on, he's probably going to be going out and turning some laps even for his race setup.
Helmet and Hans device on. Sebastian Bourdais will be in his race car at some point in time in the very near future, and as expected, getting ready to hop back in. Again, clearly they're going to try to find some speed. They will not go straight to a qualifying run here. This is about trying to find a little more speed in that number 11 car for KVSH Racing.
Yep, good little effort here. Good, nice team. They've got a lot of mechanics. I think they're nearly up to 100 personnel there over the 3 cars of him, Matthew Brabham for the Team Murray outfit there with the Pertec sponsorship for this race and the Grand Prix last weekend, and Stefan Wilson, a fabulous story of KV putting him in a car for this weekend, and very nice tribute to his late brother, and driven to save lives, supporting that effort as well, and raising awareness for organ donors, I believe, if that's right, from you get your car license, your driver's license, and you become an organ donor as well, just like Justin was, and saving several lives after his. There's yours on there. You're a donor as well, are you, Greg? Good lad.
And Stefan Wilson running in this Indy 500 in honor of his brother Justin. He's really kind of taken up two causes, one in death, one in life, that were a part of Justin's legacy. The other is that he has tied him with the Dyslexia Institute of Indiana, which was a sponsor of Justin a season ago. And Justin really wasn't planning on running a full effort a season ago, but was so well respected and so well liked as a driver. The Honda folks wanted him in a car to try to help work through some of the issues they were having.
Yep.
He ended up having a ride with Andretti Autosport for a good chunk of last year.
Yeah, a great driver, great amount of experience, and that's what the Honda guys were struggling with. They wanted somebody to help develop their cars.
Track activity about to resume here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We have been largely quiet now for the better part of the last 30 minutes. Again, there is still an hour and 40 minutes left to go in this practice/qualifying session. 30 cars that have recorded a time today, 3 that haven't, 2 that frankly won't. Pippa Mann and Max Chilton the other, and Connor Daly will, once they ensure that the same part failure that befell Pippa's ride could not affect Connor's ride. But I would think before before Connor would get back onto the track, we might see somebody else go for a qualifying run. First, we have to have somebody take the track for practice, and it looks like Sebastian Bourdais will likely be the first guy to do that. We have seen the Pennzoil-sponsored number 3 machine of Helio Castro-Neves in pit lane. Have not seen Helio himself as a driver. It appears close to the car to hop back in and turn some laps here at the Motor Speedway.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of these drivers are back in the haulers with the engineers, trying to tune the car for these conditions. You see the flags there on the right at the top of the grandstand, blowing straight down the pit straight. The pylon on top of the pylon, you've got the windsock there. Not terribly strong wind, I would say. It's more the direction. And normal wind conditions are here, a diagonal from 1 to 3, or directly opposite from 3 to 1 on a diagonal. So this wind direction is actually a little bit rare. That's just straight down the pit straight there.
Oh, to be a fly in the wall of that conversation.
That's some experience there.
Mario Andretti and Roger Penske, and I thought the way that the track is honoring Roger by allowing him to drive the pace car to start this year's race, knowing that it's the 100th race, winningest team owner, 50 years of involvement in the sport, they couldn't have made a better selection.
Yeah, 50 years and 100 years of racing. That's something special for everybody to be watching and to be witness of here coming next weekend.
You think about Mark Donohue, Rick Mears, Al Unser Sr., Al Unser Jr., Emerson Fittipaldi. I'm not sure we got time to mention all the great drivers that have been a part of the Team Penske effort. Of course, Gilles de Ferran won it, in 2003 after Helio had won it the previous 2 seasons, and now Helio going for a 4th win. And here's the Andretti Autosport. We showed you the graphic earlier about how well the Penske drivers had been doing and how much of a struggle it has been for the Andrettis. Again, for many years it was a big 3 in terms of teams in this series, and in no particular order. Andretti, Penske, Ganassi, because one year maybe it was the Andrettis that were better off with Honda power. Well, the last couple of years they've been behind the 8 ball a little bit, and that shows in the finishes we show you on screen.
Yeah, and average finishes, everything outside of the top 10 for all the drivers, with a leader of Ryan Hunter-Reay, only with the best finish of a 3rd, and that's strange for him.
I would expect better from this group, and we've seen it so far in speeds here in Qual's runs today. So activity starting to pick up a little bit in pit lane. Hope to see a practice effort or 2 coming up, knowing that again, Quals can take place between now and 7 o'clock local time. So 97 minutes of track activity is what is remaining for these teams, whether it is in practice, whether it's in Quals, the upcoming 100th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Greg Rakestraw and Darren Manning with you. Mario Andretti, of course, the 1969 winner of the Indianapolis 500. So many close finishes. The famous phrase of Andretti is slowing down the backstretch. Michael never had that opportunity. The good news for Michael, though, is that whatever that Andretti curse or problem is here at 16th and Georgetown, it has not carried over to Michael in terms of being a car owner.
No, at least for now, that's right. So Yeah, they're doing so very well so far right now, and as well, the another Honda team that are doing very well is that Schmidt-Peterson team, and hopefully we can hear from Hinchcliffe here in a second. I think we've got somebody talking to him down in pit lane, and maybe he's going back out to. He was struggling, and I think he had some fast laps in his 4-lap run, but he was struggling with balance and having to lift on some of those turns.
The cars of Michaela Lotion and James Hinchcliffe right now, the first 2 cars outside of that Fast 9. And Hinch was a guy that had a slower first lap than laps 2, 3, and 4, which means he figured something out on lap number 2, which means that whenever the cars decide to go back out onto the track for a qualifying run, you would think that perhaps that ability to bump his way into that Fast 9 would be there for the very affable Canadian driver. You mentioned the fact that Hinchtown Hammer Down, that is his personal beer selection from Flat 12 Brewing here locally in Indianapolis. Not time to enjoy that right now. To pit lane we go.
Well, there's definitely no interest in resting on his laurels as the 11th fastest driver on the day. Let's talk about what your plan is. You want to go back out and run again, but do you run any practice laps to set it up? What do you do?
No, I mean, I think we know roughly what the conditions are now. You know, we had our one qualifying run. We didn't run any practice this morning either, so it was a little bit of a shot in the dark for us with the weather conditions the way they were. A bit different yesterday from yesterday with the wind and everything. So there was more speed in it. I made some mistakes with the gears and the timing and everything, which, I mean, I'm kicking myself for now. But realistically, I think what we had in the car still isn't going to be enough because guys are going to go back out, you know, guys like Dixon, guys like TK, guys like Montoya, they're going to go back out and try again. And I think, you know, the bubble for Fast 9 is going to go up, and we've got to you know, act accordingly.
So here's the question. When do you go out? Do you wait to the last minute? Do you do it early? What's the plan?
Yeah, that's the tough part, you know, because obviously we count at least probably 10 guys that are just outside the Fast 9 that are going to want to go again. You know, the guys, the last couple of the Fast 9 are going to want to go again too. So there's probably going to be 15 cars at least lining up there. Trying to time that out is going to be really difficult. Everyone's going to sit here and wait, and there's going to be mad panic and, you know, this frantic traffic jam down in pit lane as you try and get out. So we definitely want to get back out, so we'll probably be on the cautious side. Weatherman says the wind's going to start dying down about 5:30. Weatherman isn't often right, so it's kind of a little bit of a coin toss at this point.
All right. Well, he's definitely trying to play his bets on what the weatherman has to say. Jan?
And he talked about a traffic jam. Michael Lotion is in his car, and he does not want to be stuck in that traffic jam. He is 10th at a moment. They're actually calling him saying, we're going to get ready to fire this thing up shortly. I spoke with the team. They said they will not go out for practice. They have him in the car with a new set of tires on. They're going to present it for qualifying, but it's a waiting game. They're waiting for someone to present, or they may do it themselves. They know that the track temperature is going to drop. You heard James Hinchcliffe say that the forecast is for the wind speed to drop, and he is the one that wants to be the first in line to go for it. And boy, oh boy, did he ever have a hair-raising run on his first one. We may have Michaela Lotion, the next one, to do it, Alan.
Jan, thank you very much, and clearly because it happened on this stage and it was such a life-threatening issue for James Hinchcliffe, we focus in terms of comebacks from injuries on that team on Hinchcliffe. Michaela Lotion basically missed the entire season last year because of an injury at the end of 2014. It is also wonderful to see him back in a race car as well.
Yeah, you know, you couldn't have a better couple of guys that have come back from injury. As we see one car going out on track for some practice. It looked like a Dale Coyne car. It was probably Connor Daly, seeing as he didn't even get a run yet so far. This actually might be a good practice qualifying attempt for him, seeing as he's the only car on track right now.
So again, we're starting to see activity pick up, and everybody wants to go with those cooler conditions. Not exactly an overly warm day here in Indianapolis, but looking for every bit of advantage they can find. We referenced the fact that Elio Castro Neves' car was in pit lane. There you see Elio is in pit lane as well. So not far until that number 3 machine is going to be back on the track here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Practice has resumed. Qualifications could follow shortly here at 16th and Georgetown. Here's the upcoming schedule of activities as far as the INDYCAR season, and there is really kind of a frenetic pace to June. It starts to slow down a little bit in July. We go for only doubleheader weekend of the season, the duel in Detroit at Belle Isle, that great circuit put together by Roger Penske, June 4th and 5th. Then a place that billed itself for many years as the second home of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Texas Motor Speedway, We get a weekend off for Father's Day, and then it is Road America. What a wonderful return. INDYCAR has not been there. Champ Car was there for many years. There's just something right about these cars being at Road America.
Yeah, fantastic track. I was there just a few weeks ago testing with the Indy Lights guys, helping some of those drivers, and it is just a fantastic place. I raced there in Champ Car. It's a proper racetrack, we call that one. You know, it's not a street circuit. It's got some long straights, some very fast corners, some technical aspects to the track, some nice undulation. It's in a great setting.
Then what Martinsville is to Daytona in NASCAR, Newton, Iowa is to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in IndyCar. It's a bull ring. Laps get turned in a matter of seconds, but man, is it fun. The Iowa Corn 300.
Fun for you guys watching.
Not fun for you, huh?
For the drivers, yeah. That is a tough track. You couldn't get two polar opposite tracks from wide open spaces here at Indianapolis to the tight, heavy steering of Iowa.
Couple of tremendous and long-time homes for open-wheel racing in North America. Exhibition place at Toronto, then Mid-Ohio. We go back to Pocono for the high speeds on August the 21st. And then, if you weren't circling your calendars for Labor Day weekend before, when it was going to be a new event in Boston, what a wonderful job by Jay Fry and the folks at Watkins Glen to put this together at the last minute. And hopefully it is a long-term return for IndyCar racing. Watkins Glen the day before Labor Day.
We got Road America and Watkins Glen on the same on the same calendar. That's two of the best tracks here in America. That's great for the drivers and the spectators and the series in general.
And we finish things off in Sonoma in wine country, which too has been a great home for IndyCar over the last decade. Season finale on September the 18th. September the 18th this season. Looking at all things in the upcoming IndyCar schedule. But the focus is on not even the race. It's about finding more speed to get into the race for the Indy 500. Scott Dixon getting strapped down, getting ready to go back on the track for some practice. Again, Scott, one of those drivers that is outside the Fast 9, but not too far outside that Fast 9. And there's always the feeling you can find more speed in a Ganassi car.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not too worried, and I'm sure he's eager as you see him getting strapped in there and putting the steering wheel back on. And, you know, I'm sure he and Helio are both thinking they're going to find some speed out of their cars.
Is this almost a case where drivers waiting to see, okay, who's getting in the car now? Oh, he's getting in. Oh, I'm getting back in the car. It's time to go racing, as you can just feel that pace of activity starting to pick up along pit lane.
Yeah, you can see Helio say, it's Dixon's going, maybe I'll go. See if Jan can get a hold of him here.
I was going to say, Helio is a guy that doesn't mind having a conversation. Talking to one of his team members right now, about to have one with Jan Beekes.
Obviously discussing what you do when you're gridded 7th. You want to be in the top 9, but you have to protect yourself. So what's the plan?
Well, that's what we're discussing at the moment, that we're trying to find. We know there is cars behind us with a very good chance to beat us. And so we just got to use the right strategy here and defend, but at the same time, trying to also improve my time. And the condition seems to be at the moment a little bit harder. So you saw just Bourdais coming out, other guys after us because the wind increased a little bit instead of going down. So the condition is going a little bit worse. So the big trick is, or the big challenge is, do you take a chance, pull in your time? And it sounds like about 6 to 7 o'clock, the track might get a little bit better. So the trick is pull your time, go straight to line number 1, and make a run, and hope for the best, or wait here and see what happens. We'll go to line 2. So that's we're debating at the moment because we know we're in a bubble. We're in a possibility to not be in the top 9, and we just got to have a chance to go there and try. But the track, it's not ideal condition like we thought it's going to be. So about 6, 7 o'clock, it might be the fastest time to be, but everybody's going to go too.
Okay, is it fair to say that if you think the track conditions are not better, you would go on line 2 because you wouldn't lose your time?
Correct.
But if you waited till the last moment,
you might not
you take a risk and go and take line 1.
Correct. That's correct. So right now but remember, the engine needs to cool down a little bit. So if you use a line 2, you might miss an opportunity. Even if you go to line 1, you might not have enough horsepower to be able to compete with the other guys. So I'm sorry guys, it's a lot going on here. So we're really trying to
Even though we have the best guys here in the strategy, we're trying to find out the best way here.
Do you get a vote?
Oh yeah, I'll get a vote. Right now, undecided.
A lot to consider down here for Team Penske.
Well played by Helio Castro-Neves, but it sounds like it's kind of a game of chicken at this point. Who's going to be the first taker? Who's going out there first?
Yeah, exactly. You heard the Schmidt-Peterson guys saying as soon as somebody goes, we might even just go down there ourselves. But you see the sun shining, the track temperature's probably rising still a little bit, but the wind conditions, as we saw there, probably by about halfway through the field, it started to get worse. So if you'd have gone out early, most of those guys in the top 9 were early runners before the winds really started to pick up.
Is there a facility that you have raced at that is so weather dependent as the Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
Never. This is crazy. A cloud comes over and you might pick up a mile an hour. You're going so fast. And it's so mechanically grip orientated. The corners are so tough, and the speeds are so high, and it's so huge. The smallest air pressure, you know, every pit lane stand up and down that pit lane is a weather station as well. They probably are predicting the weather better than, you know, Channel 6 or whatever, you know. So, like Helio said, it is, you know, there is a lot to think about with the turbos. You've got to have the right engine temperature. You've got to have the right car temp. You know, you've warmed everything up. You've cooled everything down. You know, you can't just go pounding around in these cars, overheating everything, because you're going to lose power.
You see Scott Dixon. So briefly on pit lane, you saw the 3 of Helio Castro-Neves, the 20 of Ed Carpenter, the 7 of Michaela Lotion. Here you see Scott Dixon currently 13th fastest of those cars that have tried to set their qualifying time. He's going to see some practice activity here from Scott Dixon, which is great to see.
Yeah, new tires on there, stickers. You can see a sticker on his left tire, taking a tear off of his RI helmet there as well. So he's hoping that he's going to get a good qualifying sim here, and hopefully there's nobody else out on the track, because even if there's somebody on the same straightaway as you, you're going to get an effect of a draft. That's such the speeds around this place.
Maybe we'll ask you about being a teammate of Scott's. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
A proper teammate. He's a great driver. You have a lot of respect for Scott and the way he goes about things. He's very open with his driving and his setups and everything. And he knows he can get an advantage by working with his teammates, which makes him even stronger.
Scott, of course, a one-time winner here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the Indy 500. A multiple-time winner as far as series championships are concerned here at INDYCAR.
In the shade all the way down the pit straight now. The sun's starting to set, the evening's coming on. Normally, he's just lifting a little bit on his outlap there. Still got his sticker on his inside wheel there, but the camber isn't really on that side. That side of the left front tire actually isn't really in contact with the ground very much. You can see they've actually put a little bit of downforce on the left rear bumper behind the rear wheel. It looks like he's broken. He's only got one side with a little bit of extra downforce on, right above that left rear, but on the right rear bumper there's none. So they're really that fine adjustments. They don't mind it being a little asymmetrical. With the more downforce being on the left side, they may be thinking it's going to, you know, help like with the banking and the offset in the tires and the stagger, meaning the different size of tires, the different tire pressures from right to left. Doesn't look like his balance is too good. He's having to shift down there again into through turn 2.
Take us through. You've got a little time between 2 and 3, and then clearly between 4 and 1 coming on the front straightaway. You'll see the drivers making all kind of adjustments on the steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
You know you've got a little bit of time to kind of think and strategize the next lap or the next corner. What's going through a driver's mind right now?
Well, he's coming down into turn 1. He knows he's got a tailwind pushing him so fast into 1, and he knows he's going to get to the middle of the corner. The front is just going to stop working, and it's going to push him up the track. Looked pretty good there for Scott that time. He kept it flat and was only able to shift down. He's shifting down 2 times now, so shifted once in turn 1 from 6th to 5th, and then another one from 5th to 4th on his back straight. Such is the wind difference from the back straight to the front straight. He's doing 4th gear down the back straight all the way up into 6th gear. That's probably about 5 to 8 miles an hour difference between all those gears.
How much is everyone else in pit lane paying attention to this lap right now?
They're all watching him. If he's the only car on track right now, we don't have his lap times up on our screens right now, but they're watching intently to see if he's actually improved, especially people like Elio, who's sitting right there on the bubble with power and Andretti. If he's turning 230s here on these laps, as the camera zooms in on his downforce changes. So that's the other thing, you know, are they too trimmed out? Were the cars slipping and sliding around too much? Do they think they can gain an advantage by, you know, burying the car into the corners and not making it slip and slide for a sacrifice of straight line speed?
I have seen cars drive with kind of different side pod pieces like that before, because usually they're involved in some sort of accident, or a piece was broken.
It looks like it, doesn't it?
But to see a team do that intentionally, again, shows you that maybe you're not able to innovate as much as you once could here for the Indianapolis 500, but there is still innovation that takes place for each and every car and each and every team.
Yep, and as we predicted, as Dixon got in, you're seeing Elio get in as well.
I see the car of Alexander Rossi is behind Elio Castro-Neves, so it's now kind of a both watch and see what your competitor is doing and watching against the clock and seeing what's going on here. And a look back at 2014, Ryan Hunter-Reay out-dueling teammate Marco Andretti and Elio Castro-Neves. Elio was one spot away from that 4th Indy 500 championship. He'll go for it again next weekend here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Ryan Hunter-Reay, an American winner of this race in 2014. He'd love to be a 2-time winner as well here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Dixon continues around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Is this just kind of a situation of they're going to keep driving him laps until they kind of find the right balance, the right gear at this point?
Yeah, depending on what he's thinking. You know, like Elio was saying, how much is the track got worse, and how can we actually get ourselves in the top 9? I mean, if you know Dixon's down there at a 228 average, can he actually find, you know, 2 or 3 miles an hour, which is what it's going to take? That is a big change, a big jump in speed. Was his car actually that bad?
They determined they can't go with this, or they found something, and he'll be wheeled towards tech in the qualifying line shortly.
Yep, Chip Ganassi looking on there. He's a great strategist as well. He'll be looking at the time, the weather, the setup, seeing if he's getting a thumbs up from the engineer, see if he went faster, talking to Scott as he's looking through the data on his tablet there. As the guys get the tire temperatures and pressures, see if that was a good change or not.
Does the average race fan, I think people at this point know about, I shouldn't say know, but at least have an understanding or appreciation about the amount of data that the engineers pour through and the amount of research and technology that go into these cars. But I'm not sure they appreciate how much the drivers have to be knowledgeable of things like that.
Well, certain drivers do. Yeah, if you want to be the best, you have to be. You know, you have to know the inner workings of, you know, the telemetry, what the loads in the tires, and you know, and how that relates to you driving and what you can change in your driving to make it a change.
Of course, 4 different Ganassi cars this season, as has been the case for the last couple of years, and you expect a little bit less from Max Chilton being a rookie in the series. But the fact that Charlie Kimball's had an average finish higher than Tony Kanaan kind of catches your attention so far this year.
Yeah, he's doing a superb job. TK will, you know, I talked to him in pit lane over the Grand Prix weekend, and he's not having the best year by his standards by any stretch, and that's what you see. Average finish of 5 places behind Scott, and he's had a 4th, but that's not his standards by any stretch. But yeah, Charlie's doing a great job. Max is, you know, learning the circuits, learning the cars. This is, I don't think he's done very much racing in America at all.
Scott Dixon has been in situations like this in years gone by, where it appeared halfway through the season, hey, he might finish 2nd, he might finish 3rd, but he's got no chance of winning a series title. And then he's been the guy that's been crowned the series champion at the end of the year. So maybe not from 76 points back, but he's been there and done that. And you get the feeling he's going to be there at the end of the year.
Yeah, you'd never count him out, do you? I mean, my goodness, you couldn't have cut it any later than last year when he won the championship on literally the last lap of the last lap of the season.
Scott Dixon remains in the cockpit, waiting for the command to either go back on the track, maybe requalify for the Indianapolis 500. A look at the unoccupied fast lane and qualifying lane at the south end of pit lane here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Michaela Lotion, again, the earlier report was that he would not go back out just for general practice, that if he were to go out, it would be to try and qualify his way back into the top 9. He is the fastest car not in the top 9. 229.190 is his 4-lap average from his earlier run. Thinking nothing to lose from him because he's not in the fast 9. You got to go back out at some point in time. What's to say, Darren, he doesn't go back out right now, then goes back out again at the end of the next hour if he doesn't make it.
Absolutely. I think they're wise as you see them fueling up there very, very accurately. That's not a lot of fuel that they're putting in. They're just measuring it to the. They actually weigh the fuel a lot of times to be more accurate for even in temperature changes. The volume can change. So they weigh the fuel. So they're doing it very, very accurately and making sure that they've got what they need for fuel, water temperature. And like the guys were saying, if he'd have gone and done some practice runs, you know, everything would have got too warm maybe, and then he would have to cool the engine down and the turbos down, and he wouldn't have had the power to run. So yeah, he's probably going to go, and they look like they were setting the pit lane up for him to do a run. And see Marco getting in with his retro helmet. I love that thing. It looks like he's got a balaclava on his chin. It's pretty cool.
Everybody wheeling back out, being ready just in case, including Simon Pagenaud, currently 4th fast here in qualification efforts at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You get the feeling that when one car starts to head through tech, here comes more behind them, and this is a Lotion being wheeled down to go qualifying again. The LED currently kind of showing the bracket. When we showed him earlier, it was 10th, as in 10th fast. That'd be good tomorrow. We'd much rather be 9th, as in the Fast 9, but it appears that business is about to pick up here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, this is good effort. He's going in the qualifying lane in lane 2, so he's pulling his time and going out to try and get in that top 9. He's, I think him and Hinchcliffe on that same team, they had some speed there. They weren't very happy with their setups as they roll up to hopefully not run over Brian Barnhart at the end of pit lane there.
So now becomes the waiting game. When do you go out? How much time do you try to stall? And again, are you someone in a chess match trying to maybe help a teammate draw more people in? And the man that is on the bubble is Marco Andretti. As soon as one person bumps him out, you know he's going next.
Yeah, he knows he's got quick cars. You know, his teammates on pole position and 3rd place with Munoz. Rossi's in 5th. So, like we said earlier, all the Andretti Autosport team are in the top 9. But Marco is on the bubble.
It's been not the last few years that Marco would have hoped for in terms of race wins. And clearly it's been a bit of a struggle for the Andretti guys last year and especially this year. But Marco has always seemingly saved his best results for here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Michaela Lotion on the track. So for the first time in nearly an hour, about to have a qualifying run here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, let's see if they the setup changes they did in that hour have actually found some speed. You see the shade is all the way nearly into turn 2 now as he crosses the skid marks through turn 2 of Pipperman earlier. Hopefully they get that car back out tomorrow.
And he'll get one more warm-up lap in addition to this one, Will Lotion. Young man from Russia. Part of the series in 2014. Injured and missed all of last year. Great to see him back, and everybody's starting to push forward now. Again, Hunter Ray is not in the top 10, so it's easy for the 28 car to say, yep, let's get into tech, let's go. A little bit different for Marco Andretti. Let's see what everybody else does first.
Yeah, absolutely. This will actually be very telling. Alertion was pretty fast on around a 229. Ed, Hunter Ray, Hinchcliffe, they all were really struggling and having to lift. Hunter Ray, he was all over the place. We were watching his run and working probably the hardest of anybody on all his settings inside the cockpit.
6 to 7 local time is truly going to be happy hour, because after a rather slow 5 o'clock hour, business picks up at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at 10 till the top of the 6 o'clock hour. Aloshin back on the track and trying to bump his way in to the Fast 9.
And he's looking pretty fast so far. You can see he's predicted to be second fast so far on the ticker at the bottom of the screen, and he's looking very fast. This looks like it's going to be a good setup change for him.
And being at spot number 1, he'd love it. It's about being in front of spot number 9. That is what's most important here. Tomorrow is the race for the pole. Today is the race for 9th. And knowing you've got an hour of qualifying left to go, as much padding as you can get between yourself and 9th you would like to have. First lap, 230.606 miles per hour.
Looking pretty free through turn 1. This is looking pretty nice. He's getting down below the white line in 2. He's using all the track. He's dropped a little bit of speed there, but this is just how close it is in that top 9. The difference between 3rd and 6th there is not even a mile an hour on average over the 4 laps. It's crazy.
The first lap would clearly be fast enough, but the telemetry is showing that his time has been pulled down somewhat in lap number 2. So if that holds true, let's see what the speed matches up as he crosses the yard of bricks for a second time. That second speed, 229.598. Again, good enough to be in the middle of that 9 as we speak.
Yeah, currently running 7th, and you heard with Hinchcliffe talking about his timing of the gear changes. This is very critical. Not only your upshifts, you've got your shift lights on your dashboard, on your steering wheel, and you shift when the last light comes on, or however you've set it as a driver to timing-wise. You might want the light to come on and flash at you for a couple of seconds, and then you shift. But it's also timing the downshifts. On these types of laps where you're flat out the whole way round, you actually are scrubbing speed coming onto the back straight into the wind, and you've got to shift down at the right point. And where that is can actually scrub your speed off. You see he's going through turn 1 there. Right on the exit, he shifts down into 5th gear.
Lap number 3, 229.887 miles an hour. His 3-lap average, 230.029. Again, that would put him inside that top 9 as we speak.
Yep, just hovering around that 8th, 9th, 7th place. Can he hold on to P9 here?
It's going to be awfully close. And right now we've got 5 cars qualified at over 230 miles an hour. If he's inside of it, it's just barely a look as he crosses the yard of bricks. 228.195, his average 229.568. He goes from 10th to 8th. That's good enough for now. But will it hold with over an hour of qualifications left to go at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
Yeah, well, he gets pretty close to scraping the wall coming out of turn 2 there. You can see him right at the darker part of the track there where all the rubber's laid down. He's right on the limit. Nice work.
Used every bit of real estate available to him.
Yeah, he was confident in not wanting to go out for another practice run, and he knew he had some speed in that car, and I'm sure Hunter Ray's currently sitting in 14th, and you see on the side of his car there, he knows his team cars are quick enough to be in there. He just got to put the 4 laps together.
So Marco Andretti bumped out of the Fast 9, currently sits in 10th, which does him no good, which means he will be heading to the tech line momentarily. Ryan Hunter-Ray, his first run put him outside of the top 9. He's waiting for the signal to take to the track. Trying to bump his way into the featured show tomorrow.
You can see his crew chief on the radio there, just waiting for all the temperatures to be absolutely perfect before he starts. Everything is timed down to the last second, the last degree of temperature. How fast they get up onto track here is all calculated for the gears. It's not really normally when you come out of the pitch, you're going on the left there on the very light colored surface, and you're coming out of the pit lane there, whereas for qualifying you go straight onto the track in turn 1 and you can accelerate a hell of a lot faster with that banking, so your gears are more tended to be for getting up to speed using that rather than the pit lane.
Ryan, a former series champion in INDYCAR as well. His 4-lap average last time out, 228.823. The time that he must beat is Will Power, 229.509.
Yeah, this will cause some fretting in the Penske pit, that's for sure, if Power gets bumped out.
And Ed Carpenter didn't have much in terms of way of speed.
Both team cars in the pit lane there.
And neither did J.R. Hildebrand either. But again, they've got a teammate that's in Joseph Newgarden.
Yeah, they know the cars have got speed, right?
So there's a setup that you can borrow. There's also the potential of let's take up some real estate and some time here to make sure our guy doesn't have to go back out. Michaela Lotion standing by.
As you see, there's improvement. So already one scary moment, not every lap and every turn scary moments, but I think we're heading to the right direction, and I think we're P7 at the moment, so it's not too bad.
Okay, earlier today, a lot of people were talking about how much the track had changed when we started qualifying. How much has the track now changed since you qualified?
Well, I think it cooled down a bit, but majorly not much, to be fair with you.
Okay, once again, Michaela Lotion, I think, is already planning to go back out again and making that assumption. Alan?
Rick, thank you very much. So Hunter Ray, he was 14th fast in his 4-lap average earlier.
He's already jumped from 14th up to 8th already. He's still changing a lot of different settings on the car going down the pit straight there. Little high going into 1, but it's not too bad. A shift down into 4th gear. Just dropped in a little bit of momentum there, but it is so close. That ticker is gonna be going from 6th to 9th to 10th all the way through this run probably. But he's looking like he's gaining speed all the time.
First lap, 230.176 miles an hour. That would put him, if he could maintain that pace, put him in the fastest 3. That would even put him ahead of teammate Carlos Munoz. But generally, we have seen speed start to come down throughout the course of a 4-lap run. Lap number 2 in the books for Ryan Hunter-Reay. Very consistent. In fact, a bit faster. 230.263 miles per hour.
But he just had to have a massive lift in turn 1 there, Greg, and hopefully that won't spoil his run here. Those 2 laps at 230, that would have been perfect. And you see he's dropped down to 8th there. Hopefully he's still about a 10th and a half up on 9th place and gaining speed again. So he's obviously got speed in the car, but he's flirting with danger at that 9th place.
As a heads up, we are coming to the end of our allotted window, but there will be an extra hour of qualifying today, so do not go anywhere. There will still be just over 60 minutes of activity here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway before we are done for day number 1 of qualifying. Lap number 3 just a bit slower, but still plenty of speed to make it inside of that fast 9. 229.881. His average a very consistent 230.106. That would currently slot him in the upper half of the fast 9 if he can maintain that pace on lap number 4.
Yeah, it looks like he's made some very good adjustments to his car during this run. He was able to hold it flat through turn 1. On lap 4 here, where he wasn't on lap 3. So this should be a fast lap and should put him up in the top 6.
Ryan Hunter-Reay crosses the yard of bricks. Again, very similar time. He is currently slotted in the 6th position, 230.017, behind teammates Carlos Munoz and Alexander Rossi. And Will Power just got bumped out. And Will Power going fastly
down pit lane.
They're pushing that with a little ferocity behind him. We will sign off in a matter of moments. We will turn it over to our colleagues at ABC for the final hour. Both Darren and I will be back tomorrow for the last 2 hours of qualifying, where we'll kind of finish up those qualifier spots 10 through 33, but have the fast 9 and a frenetic 45 minutes for you tomorrow at 5 o'clock local time. 5 to 5:45 will officially award the pole sitter for the 100th running of the Indy 500. So the last qualifying run that we'll have a chance to call, at least in part, will be Marco Andretti. But this is what we expected. Business has picked up along pit lane for the 6 o'clock hour.
Everybody's starting to panic now, pushing the cars in front of each other, pulling their times. But yeah, if this is anything like what tomorrow's going to be like, this is already getting exciting.
And we're seeing, for example, Hunter-Reay went up about 1.5 miles. Lotion went up about 0.5 mile an hour. So let's average those out, and most drivers are finding an extra mile an hour per run. I mean, this is going to be like a shell game for the next 60 minutes.
It's going to bring a lot of people outside of the top 10 into this game. Like from about 15th to 16th on, if you can find 1 mile an hour, you're going to be in the hunt for 9th place for sure. So Andretti knows he's got a quick car like Hunter Ray, so if he can match Hunter Ray in the 2:30s, this should be a pretty good lap.
Marco Andretti waiting to take the green flag for his first lap. Again, we will have the qualification run in its entirety for you, but we'll hear the voices of Alan Bestwick, former 500 winner Eddie Cheever, and Scott Goodyear take over for the final hour of our qualifications coverage from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The run is officially on for Marco Andretti here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, he's looking like he's got a lot of lock in the car, and he's already a 10th down, and he may have to actually abandon this run. No, he looks like he's staying on it. I thought he was actually going to be coming in pit lane, but yeah, 14th place is actually a little worse than what he was.
Right now, again, he's already on the plus side of 2/9 on the telemetry that we have a chance to look at, and most of these drivers so far have been ahead of those speeds. Lap number 1 speed 229.776. That would put him just inside that 9 if he can maintain that average going forward. So again, there'll be 60 more minutes of qualifying and on-track activity here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Again, stay with us here. For Darren and I, Greg Rakestraw, our day is about to come to an end. The run will be continued. Alan Bestwick, Eddie Cheever, and Scott Goodyear. One more very happy hour of qualifying yet to come from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the 100th Indy 500.
Indianapolis Motor Speedway riding with Marco Andretti as the final hour of Saturday qualifications begins to set the top 9 that will compete tomorrow for pole position in the 100th Indianapolis 500-mile race. Alan Bestwick with Eddie Cheever and Scott Goodyear topside. Rick DeBrule, Jan Beekes are down in the pit lane. Marco Andretti trying to protect his place in the Fast 9. As you see by the tracker, the number with the yellow arrow, he's outside of that quick group at the moment.
It's been a very strange day today. Lots of teams have one car out of their stable that is going well. The other ones just can't seem to close the gap.
Riding along now to turn 1. Watch his hands, very busy on the steering wheel.
He's going to have a miracle last corner to get in the top 9.
Checkered flag here for Marco Andretti. .229.501. And that will place him in 11th position for the moment outside of the Fast 9. He was not able to bump his way back in.
The thing for him is that there's a lot of cars lining up in the queue right now, so he's got to get in, make some changes, and then get back in line so he can have another shot at it.
And a spot taken now on the track. The guys trying to bump their way back into the Fast 9. Well, here's a car that was pulled from the qualifying line earlier today. Connor Daly's 18 machine for Dale Coyne Racing. He's coming out to make his first qualification attempt of the day. A recap of things so far. Morning warm-up today. Max Chilton had troubles.
Car just goes around on him. He could not control it, goes off and hits the wall. So something you want to do here as a rookie, but he was checked at the medical center, released, and ready to go back on the track.
Only other incident of the day thus far happened when Pippa Mann, Connor Daly's teammate, went out for her run. Something broke on the back of the car, leaned over a rear wing upright, and that, while costing Mann, was the alert to Connor Daly's team to pull their car from the line.
A very wise decision.
This is Carlos Munoz, who is sitting 3rd on the board right now.
And after the run, they told him that they had some sort of mechanical problem or engine problem. They wouldn't tell us what it is, but if they get that right, Scott, he could be making a run for it. If they put him out again, which I'm not sure they will. They probably keep him in 3rd.
Joseph Newgarden 2nd, and Townsend Bell, the provisional pole sitter for the moment. The Californian topping 230.4 miles an hour in his 4-lap trip around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and he is in the #1 spot inside of an hour to go. So here is Daly, 24-year-old from Noblesville, Indiana, outside of Indianapolis, in his third Indianapolis 500-mile race. Although he didn't get to compete a year ago, his car had a fuel leak and a fire on the pace laps, and he never turned a lap in the race last year.
He's been going quick this month. Dale Coyne's cars have been fast throughout the whole month. It'll be interesting to see how far he can climb up the speed chart.
His teammate car of Gabby Chavis right now is 18th on the qualifying list, so hopefully he's had a chance to get some information from that qualifying run that Gabby did, make some adjustments on his car. Remember, they have a Honda power plant. Honda has proved to be very quick so far this month, so probably relying on that just a little bit.
7.8, a little bit faster on his second lap than the first, but still a couple of miles an hour average off from having any shot at that top 9. See, tracking in 20th right now.
A little bit of a lift in turn 1, Scott.
Yeah, and 234 straightaway speed into 1, so obviously a lot off on that. So does that tell you that maybe they've got a fair amount of downforce on the car possibly, so they can just get through and get it in the show and get ready to go off and do some more qualification runs tomorrow?
Remember the determination today. Who are the fast 9 that will compete for the pole late tomorrow afternoon? Everyone else will rerun tomorrow. All the times from today will be wiped out. They'll qualify again tomorrow to see who starts as high as 10th and as low as 33rd.
Just a nice, tidy run.
Yeah, very consistent. Again, 234 going into turn 1. Going into turn 3 now. We'll watch the speed tracker here in our booth and let you know what that is. Just shy of 230, about 229 miles per hour going into turn 3. I say just, but you know what I'm saying.
Four-lap average 227.804. You see 17th out of 31. So Connor Daly has made his first attempt of the day. So here's how things stand at this point. A little over 50 minutes to go in the first day of qualification. The top 9 you see right now with Mikael Aleshin on the bubble. Will Power just outside.
And a lot of Hondas this year versus what we saw last year. But the surprising thing is you look at Will Power in 10th, it's the guys that we expected to see up in the top 9 that we don't see there.
He will be going out though for sure.
There you have Hinch and Montoya and Dixon. Takuma Sato. Will Tony Kanaan make another run? Does he have the speed in the car? We know Ed Carpenter's in line.
Ed Carpenter, a two-time pole winner here. A couple guys back there. Look at 25th place, Graham Rahal. Expecting a little bit more out of him.
You think he's close enough that he'll give it another run?
It sounded like they were struggling in the interview, didn't it? I'm not sure that they've got anything else that they can offer right now.
Said they were struggling in qualifying trim, felt like their race car was good. So yeah, that is the question. Do you go out there and take another shot at it, or do you just say, okay, we'll call it good and we'll rethink it tonight and see if we can get up as high as 10th tomorrow?
I think a lot of that depends on the engineers. You don't want, if you're at the point where you're throwing darts on a dartboard, you're better off to stop and collect yourself in the morning and start all over again.
So J.R. Hildebrand on the racetrack now for Ed Carpenter Racing, 22nd at the moment. So can he improve from there, or will he fall back on the time that he set earlier today? Time will tell.
In his rookie year, he was one corner away from winning the Indianapolis 500. So he definitely knows how to drive a car around here and how to get a good balance.
Well, his teammate car with Joseph Newgard is sitting in the middle of the front row right now with a 230.229. So, do you go and get some information as we talked about before and make some changes, or did you just want to tweak it a little bit with tire pressures and wing angles and work with the adjustments that's inside the car?
230.
First lap of this run, a little bit better than first lap of original run. Awful lot of cars are stacked up down toward the turn one end of the pit lane, Jan.
Yes, and some drama right now for Team Penske. Big discussions going on between Roger Penske and the crew for Helio Castroneves. They're next in the chute in the qualifying lane. But Helio just said, I think we should go, but the team is hesitating. They're considering pulling this car out of line because they think it might be a little too early to go to get the maximum speed out of the track. If you pull it out of line, you run the risk of not getting to run at all. You'd have to go into the fast lane, but people could beat you into the fast lane. They have good position right now, but they're considering giving it up.
This little formula's got a little edge to it, doesn't it?
We still have a lot of time left, though.
But there are a lot of cars down there jockeying around that line. Can only run so many in the hour. So here's Hildebrand looking to make an improvement. He was 22nd in his first run. You see right now he's tracking 15th. That's not enough to get him into the fast 9. Ooh, wow.
Boy, that one has been punishing today, hasn't it?
Good thing about that is that's Cezanne's last lap. He doesn't have to worry about
the
going back
windsock
to do that
is
again.
right back up again. The windsock is right back up again.
Using up a lot of road, getting those wheels down below the white line.
So checkered flag, 4-lap average, 2:29.075, nearly 2-mile-an-hour improvement in this run from his first run earlier. He moves up to 12th.
Right down to the white line. Watch this, Eddie. We talked about guys getting up close to the grade. No, man. And he catches it. That's a slide and a wiggle. Oh.
You know what I get a kick out of? Every time somebody does something like that, you giggle. And I know what's on your mind.
Yeah, because I've also had the other end of it where you lose it and hit the wall. So it's just like, you know what? Yeah.
I'm glad that's not me.
Yeah, I'd rather be up here where I'm at now. Yeah.
All right. Rick?
Well, walking down pit lane with Connor Daly is like walking with a rock star. There are people yelling your name. You're a local boy, and they all appreciate that. All right, you're 17th fastest, but you're not a very happy guy.
No, man, I mean, we did a lot of work on Fast Friday, and the car was really bad at first, and we got it to where it was drivable. And the next trim that we were supposed to make on Fast Friday was for 231. And I feel like the car can do it, but here the wind has changed completely, and the track's different too. So, we chose not to practice this morning because we think that, the first run on the car is always the fastest, but I think we needed to tune a little bit. So, I mean, I would love to do another run because, I mean, I really want to at least do 230, but I don't know. I mean, we've got good cars here at Dale Coyne Racing, so I think that's pretty exciting just in general.
Well, I can tell you they are pushing the car back to his paddock or his pit area, and he's been walking down the pit. So let's say there's a good chance they're going to do that. Jan?
Well, you talk about pushing a car back. A car they just pushed forward is Helio Castroneves. So he is the person who won the vote. He was on the radio saying, I think we should go. The team was hesitant, but he has the confidence thinking this is the timing he wants. Right behind him, if he does in fact complete his run, will be Juan Pablo Montoya. So 2 Penske cars right in a row. But again, Montoya hasn't made their final decision to hit the chute yet.
All right, Jan. So here is Ed Carpenter. First run for Carpenter. 4-lap average, 2:27.388. Tracking 8th here. Still early in his run, but a definite speed improvement out of Carpenter and his team car with Hildebrand that just ran.
This is the corner that decides it all right here, the first time they turn into turn 1.
And a 236 for top speed going into 1, so that's not something that we've generally seen that results in a fast over the 230 to 231-ish.
It's a good first lap, though. He did 230. Now, if the tires will stay consistent and he can keep his foot in it, he should move forward.
So essentially, without that really rocket high speed going into 1, they found a nice balance from downforce to drag if he's pulling that speed out right now.
Let's see what it is. 2:29.6.
We know the team has the ability because Joseph Newgarden, his teammates on the front row. We know that Ed can do it because he's been a pole sitter here twice.
And being on pole twice doesn't happen just by chance. So he knows what it takes. Just seems to be struggling this month, trying to find the right balance.
White flag up. One more lap for Carpenter, trying to crack that fast 9. Lost a little bit on that lap. 2:29.1.
He's not going to make the top 9.
He was 22nd. How much more will he improve?
Remember, his goal is to get to the top 9 so he can go play in that group tomorrow, but not happening.
So Mikhail Aloshin is safe for another runner. Carpenter, though, moves up to 12th with that 4-lap run. 2:29.429 for Ed. About a 2-mile-an-hour pickup. So Helio Castroneves comes out onto the racetrack now. If he were to pick up 2 miles an hour, he'd be on the pole.
Gets a bit more difficult the higher up you go the chart.
Yes.
There he is.
Roger Penske looking on as the 3-time winner gets his car up to speed. Helio, a 4-time pole winner for the 500. Heard his conversation earlier with Jan, I believe it was, about when to go, what to do. The conversation, the vote. Castroneves did come out from the lane where his present time is protected, so he's currently in 8th. And has another warm-up lap to go. Now here's the first one to make the move to the fast lane. What were we talking about, Graham Rahal? And whether they go out again, they're going to withdraw their time from earlier. Really got nothing to lose. They're 26th out of 31. And go to the head of the line to run again. As soon as they're ready, you see Graham running toward the car, right of the screen, helmet, Hans device on already.
So for them to have made this decision, they must have made some really big changes, Alan, because they wouldn't be just tinkering with it because he was completely out of the picture.
Now, here's another one. James Hinchcliffe, who's been bumped down to 14th by the guys that have run, has just moved his car to the fast lane. He'll withdraw his time and run again. So now, what this is doing as Castroneves takes the green under this system, the more, little hesitation there, the more guys that move to that fast lane, the more time it takes up in this last hour, and the more pressure it's going to put on people to go to that fast lane and withdraw their time and take another shot.
So the dam is opened right now.
It is. Jan?
Well, the interesting thing is anyone who goes into the fast lane goes ahead of the qualified lane. So now they're backing up the Penske cars. They're pulling Power and they're pulling Montoya out of what we call lane 2 of the qualified lane. They're saying, we may not make it. So they're quickly changing positions and going to withdraw their time and get right behind Hinchcliffe. So all the moves being made the moment that Rahal went to the left of the line.
Good first lap.
Yeah, and the other thing that's happening here is we're watching our booth just to let our folks know at home is that now people are running down the pit lane to try to get in the lane to have another shot out of here.
Castroneves is getting very close. This is a really good run.
The last 2 cars picked up 2 miles an hour average from their first run to their seconds. Like I said before, if Helio does that, he'll be at the top of the pylon.
If he can keep the consistency, he's going to be there. He's done 2 laps at 230. His second lap was almost a 231. What a story it would be if he won his 4th Indianapolis 500 on the 100th Indy.
And you can hear the cheering of all the crowd that's outside of our booth right now. Obviously a popular driver here. The whistles and the shouts are going on.
He's done another 230. Oh, gosh, that is close.
half a lap away. His average is up to second. Can he top Townsend Bell? Now it's up to first.
One more corner.
He did it.
How about that? That might be the first brick that he just laid for winning his 4th Indianapolis 500.
So Helio Castroneves goes to the #1 spot on top of the qualifying pylon. It doesn't bump anyone from the Fast 9 because he was in the Fast 9 already. Mikhail Alushin is still on the bubble, but Castroneves puts himself to the #1 spot on the board.
We just watched a master at his trade.
Can he be the 4th member of the 4-time club next Sunday?
He put one heck of a stake in the ground saying he can be.
All right, so as Castroneves comes back in, the plot thickens at the other end of the qualifying line. Graham Rahal withdraws his time and comes out onto the racetrack to begin a 4-lap run.
Last time we saw Rahal, he was really struggling. Let's see if they made enough changes, Scott.
He just found out he was P1. I don't know if you heard it over the noise, but when Roger said to him, congratulations, he said that was a tough one.
He dug himself out of that hole.
So here is Graham Rahal to bump into the top 9. He needs 229.568. You see he's down in 17th right now.
Remember, he didn't have the straightaway speed last time that he was out at both ends. Car was not working for him. He was complaining that in this aerodynamic setup for qualifying, the car did not have what they call the mechanical grip. Through all the springs and the shocks and all those sorts of things, when you have good mechanical grip, you can start to take some of the aero off the car. Gives you that speed down the straightaway.
228.5.
Turn 3, making some of the adjustments inside the cockpit. You see him take his hands off the steering wheel, work with the sway bars.
So while Graham Rahal continues to work on a lap that is not going to get him into the Fast 9, the man who just went to the top of the board is with Rick.
And a guy who cannot believe he has pulled that off. We were just saying, you were second going into your last lap, and your last lap is how you pulled that off. What did you do?
I stopped breathing. I stopped breathing from the first lap, and oh my God! To be honest, I didn't know I was P1. When we pull in, they said you're P1. I'm like, well, what did you say, P1? I thought it was P7 or P. I had no idea. But wow, what a great job! Pennzoil car again. That wasn't the limit. That was over the limit, but great job, the guys. I don't know if it's going to stand, but I tell you what, that was the best I could do.
You make many changes in the car. Let's figure out, how did you do it?
I did everything, my friend. Let's put it this way. I did everything, but without the team that I have, I wouldn't be able to do what I did. But again, like I said, I don't know if it's going to stand up. I don't know what time it is. Obviously, we're 7:27, so we have 40 minutes to go. Proud of my car, proud of what I did just now, because it was, woo, woo.
You know, right now, I don't think anybody's more surprised than Helio Castroneves.
My heart's pumping still.
Alan?
He's so entertaining. So Graham Rahal winds up 23rd. His first run was a 226.9. This one is 227.4. So only about a half a mile an hour pickup over the 4-lap trip around Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Well, things are getting good here in this final hour of qualification. Elio Castroneves has just run a lap that has put him at the top of the board, the 4-time pole winner and 3-time race winner. Trying to see if he can top the board today. Back live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, James Hinchcliffe withdrew his time, went through the fast lane, out onto the racetrack, trying to make the fast 9. Right now, he's got a pretty sporty run going through 1 lap. You see the time left in the session, top left of your screen, and you see James Hinchcliffe in the office.
238 miles an hour last time going into 1. Now we're headed into 3. 235. So there's some pretty consistent speed, Eddie, between turns 1 and 3.
Tracker at number 1, halfway through his run.
He's just done 2 laps at 2:31. That throttle has not moved from full throttle.
And no fuss or muss with the steering wheel. Boy, it's
Nothing.
smooth. That just shows to you that whatever they've done, they've made that car just so smooth that he's so confident with it. He's placing it where he wants it to. Watch him run right towards the wall. Just touching the white line on the inside. He'll look at the windsock here. Knows that he's got a tailwind.
He's done 3 laps at 2:31.
Track temperature hasn't moved down much in the last 15-20 minutes, still at 93 degrees.
And this car, Alan, is on rails.
Remember when we heard from James back in the garage area, told us he thought he left some on the table. They were going to go for it. He thought everybody else would pick up speed as well. I think he'll be very pleased with this run if he gets through these last couple of corners.
This is going to be handily P1.
Yeah, that's not even a little bit in the table. That's a lot.
Oh my goodness, look at this.
Top of the pylon, James Hinchcliffe. Yes, Elio, you still have to smile for the photo, even though you just got bumped from the top of the pylon. How about this for Hinch? What a story.
Last year at this time, he was in a hospital bed. That was amazing.
It's astounding and shows you what small changes can make in a car going around here. And for him, the satisfaction he must have right now, because each time he goes past turn 3, it's got to be in the back of your mind that at that point in time last year.
Let's not forget his team. His team gave him one heck of a car.
So 4-lap average, 230.946, up from 228.9. 2-mile-an-hour pickup. There's a theme there. And Hinch goes to the top of the board with just under 32 minutes left. and a whole flock of cars now stacked up in the fast lane at the head of the grid to withdraw their times and take another shot in these last 32 minutes. Here's one of them, Montoya. His team withdrew his time. He's out on the track on his warm-up laps. And look, Dixon next in line.
The difference here is the lane on the left was the one that had the long lineup before. Now, the one on the right.
Dixon, Power. Who's that third one in line? That's Oriel Servia,
who was quick.
There's Connor Daly going to take another crack at it. Gabby Chavez, Marco Andretti. All of those cars will get out before any of them that are in that other line.
As you call it, the express lane.
This is wide open right now.
This is sort of like going through the airport, right? If you've got one of those clear passes or something.
Yes.
So Montoya trying to move up into the fast 9. Last time 2:28.841 was his 4-lap average. He needs 2:29.883 or better to knock Servia out of the top 9. Jan?
The way the timing seems to be working out now that we've established the fast lane, it's going to be very close between Gabby Chavez in the 19 and Marco Andretti in the 27 as to who will be the last person on the track. What could make the difference is somebody like a Juan Montoya who's now sped up, but let's say someone doesn't have a good attempt going, they could abort, and that might give Marco Andretti a chance, but at the moment, it's touch and go as to whether he'll get a chance to requalify.
And Jan, none of those cars that are in the other lane that would keep their time intact look to be going to get a crack at this.
Well, no, because right now, if Joseph Newgarden or if Simon Pagenaud decides to pull out, they go to the back of this line that is the fast lane. So I think that they're not going to get a shot.
So all the jockeying around and the strategy on how to play the qualifying rules right has been played well by some, and others are going to get caught out by it.
I don't think Montoya has the speed. Definitely doesn't have the speed to make a run for pole.
All right, Montoya tracking 11th right now. Rick?
Down here with the man who right now has the fastest time. Funny how that changes pretty quickly. You were so disappointed in your first run. You said you made the mistakes. This time you pulled it out. Walk us through it.
Yeah, no, we made up for it for sure. You know, the first run I made some mistakes on my shift pattern, and we went back, made the car a little bit better. I mean, huge credit to all the guys in the Aero Electronics car. I mean, that thing was a rocket ship. The fall off was almost non-existent. You know, we even dialed the engine back a little bit on that last lap. Not being cocky, just knowing that we were pretty safe in the fast 9, and that's the goal today. You know, being fastest doesn't really mean anything or pay anything, but you know, it's certainly a nice cherry on top. Can't thank the boys enough, and you know, come back here when everyone's here makes, right?
Now, granted, it's not the pole. That won't come until tomorrow. But how does it feel to be #1 so far?
Yeah, I mean, there's still some guys to run, still some quick guys to run, so we'll see. But you know, it validates all the effort these guys put in. You know, these cars start getting put together back in February. They put so much effort into the cars for the month of May. And like I said, I can't thank everybody back at the shop, everybody at Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports, Sam Schmidt, Rick Peterson. I mean, all these guys, Aero Electronics. I know Mike Long, the CEO, is out here today. He got to wave the green flag, so it's a good feeling. Like you say, it's not over yet. There's still a long way to go tomorrow, but it's definitely a great start.
Very impressive when you realize where he was just 1 year ago.
So Hinch on the top of the board for now. Montoya not going to make the fast 9. He was 10th and would not have enough time to get back up and make another effort. Remember, Montoya started 15th last year and went all the way back to 30th at the beginning of the race and still won it. So it's not the end of the world, and I know that's how Juan will view it. But he will not make the fast 9 and run for the pole tomorrow. The highest he'll be able to start is 10th.
You don't make the fast 9 today, there's no shot at being on the pole.
Here's Scott Dixon.
You think he's figured it out, Scott?
You know, if there's somebody that's going to look at it very methodically with the group that he has, this would be the guy that could surprise us with a little bit of speed. We'll tell very quickly here, just on his warm-up lap, and then that straight line speed getting into the turns, which has really been the telltale to see if guys can get down the straightaway here. But you know, this car, when they unveiled it just a little while ago with that yellow lightning bolt that's on the side, reminds me, and it's a throwback to Alex Zanardi's car that ran for Chip Ganassi years ago. So it's nice to see that they're thinking back towards quite a few years. What year was that?
I don't remember.
That's got to be 6, 7 years ago. It's been a long time, maybe longer.
Now Dixon earlier ran 228.832 for his 4-lap average. If he's able to duplicate the 2-mile-an-hour pickup that some have had, that would put him second. Remember, we saw Dixon out for a practice run earlier, testing out the changes that this team had made to the 9 car.
Warm-up speed at 227, somewhere around where Hinch's was, so that's nice, but look at the difference in the steering wheel movement.
He had trouble in 1 and 2. You saw the speed drop all the way down to 16th.
Very hard to recover from that.
I would call that car, Eddie, very edgy. You know, when you turn in and then you have to correct, and then you start to take little stabs at it like he was doing when we were watching Hinchcliffe. You know, he was very smooth with his car.
Hardly any wind at all now going into 1. First lap was a 2:29.7.
Check that out.
That's actually worse than his last run.
Yeah, and you can hear the RPMs in 1 and 2. The RPMs of the motor start to drone down a little bit when he gets to mid-turn. If a car's working really well, you don't hear the RPMs dip down very much from the engine.
No, this is not going to happen. 2:29.6.
How much agony do you think this is for Marco Andretti? Sitting there in line, waiting to take another shot at it, and knowing that by doing the math like Jan did for us earlier, you're not going to get a shot to run unless somebody says, okay, this isn't going, I'm going to pull out. Well, nobody's going to do that at the moment that's on the track. Right, once you've started a run, you've withdrawn your time, so you're not going to do that. So he needs somebody that's potentially in front of him in the line to say, it's okay, I'll take my car out of line. Well, the only one that's in front of him that's in that line is Oriol Servia, who's currently 9th.
Well, in principle, Scott could decide to not finish because he's not going to get in the top 9.
But he's withdrawn his time.
Yeah, so he's got to complete his run, as everybody does now. That's in that in the express lane. That's on the that we talked about before. So they're going to go out and complete all 4 laps.
Boy, this is a disappointing run for Ganassi.
Now, for him to turn this speed here, he's not working any less than the drivers that are going faster. Usually in this case here, you're working harder because the car's not working as well, so you're putting yourself more at risk when you're doing this.
14th for Scott. So Serbia stays on the bubble. And as you look at the cars lined up in the fast lane, Serbia is the one on the bubble. So if he goes out, he gives up his time. If he decides, no, I'm not going to go out, then he goes to the back of the line, and that may open up a spot for Marco Andretti to take a shot at him and bump him out of the fast 9. Right, a little bit of a pickle there.
But looking how a lot of the people are improving, that's very risky to not take that, isn't it?
Interesting stuff down there, huh, Jan?
It very much is, and it's a situation where when it's your time to go, you have to make that decision as to whether you're bailing or not. In other words, he's already signed a form to go into this to withdraw his time. But now that he's in this position, I believe it's my view that once he's here and he's presented, his time is gone. So he can't bail out of this line at this point. He's made the decision to withdraw his time.
And you look back in line, there's Gabby Chavez. Chavez 20th at the moment. There's Marco Andretti in his car, 12th. That's a long wait inside the car.
It's a long wait. And in his case, I really do believe he's got the speed in the car.
And you know they've talked about it. You know they know where they stand.
This is Indy. Anything can happen.
Here is Will Power. He was 12th fastest, 2:29.509. That time is gone. First couple of corners, he tracks 3rd fastest. 2:31 for his first lap.
And a 2:37 going into the turn. So that's a nice split right now. And remember, doing this, you're pushing your foot down on the pedal as hard as you can. Deep breaths going into the turn because you're holding the steering wheel so tight. You're just thinking, come on, it's got to stay there. It's got to grip. And you're trying to, no pun intended, wheel the car around the corner.
I just want to update something that Jan said. Your time is withdrawn when you get to the head of the line and the track is made available to you for qualifying. So Servi is at the head of the line. The track is not available to him yet for qualifying because power's out there.
So very, very, very tidy run. No dramatics, no corrections.
We would have a lot of great information from his teammate car, Elio Castroneves.
He's tracking second. He does a 2:31. Still stands a chance.
Still a 2:37 at the end of the straight, so they got a nice balance, guys, from the right downforce to go down the straightaway just fast enough to be able to keep the car consistent in the turns. He did have a little bit of a bobble there, though. You saw him just lose it mid-turn. The car's probably sliding now. Slid out just a little bit from him.
Boy, these Penske cars from the beginning of the season have been perfect at every track.
They've not been dominant here this week in practice like we have seen them be a year ago, for example, but Will Power is going to move up to second fastest.
So they have 2 of the 3 fastest cars.
So Servia waved onto the racetrack. What is now the 10th time is erased, and he does have to make his 4-lap run to try and bump his way back in. And so their decision to get in that line and get to the head of it, well played by that team.
And he's been quick.
So our best man down there with his calculator flying, timing how long it's taking cars to run and trying to calculate who's going to get out is Jan.
And I believe, unless there's an issue on the course, and that's a very good point about until the track is presented to you, that is correct. However, that is the only way you cannot lose your time if the track was shut down. In other words, any of these people, including Marco Andretti, cannot decide to get out of this. You're stuck in here, you're going to do it. Here's the great news. By my calculations, I think Marco Andretti is now going to easily make it. He's going to get a chance to attempt because the cars we're watching fast cars here. They're actually clicking off these laps faster than you would on average for a whole field because the top dogs are running. So this may work out just the way that Marco Andretti wants it. You want to be nearly the last person on the track, maybe with a little bit of time to spare.
And you know, the other thing, Jan, we noticed right there on the exchange when Servia came out just as Power finished, they are wasting no time, IndyCar officials, in waving the next car out onto the racetrack. They're not waiting till the car that took the checkers comes all the way back around onto the pit lane before they send the next car. They're trying to give as many people the opportunity, it appears, to make a run in this final hour.
Having Marco being the last driver to try to qualify, I think would be great too. The end of a very exciting day.
You're thinking in terms of a theater here. It would be good theater.
I'm thinking in terms of somebody having a really fast car and having a shot at being quickest.
So here's Oriol Servia.
Let's see how he goes through turn 1 this time. A little bit of wiggles going on the last time through there. Oh, close again to the wall. But give him credit for keeping his foot in it.
Remember Oriol, when we talked to him after the run earlier that went so well, had one moment in that run also, and still kept his foot in it and had a good effort. This is a team car to James Hinchcliffe and Mikhail Aloshin. Hinch top of the board, Aloshin right now 11th. And Servia with that moment losing a couple of miles an hour on that last lap.
But good straightaway speed going into 1, 238 miles an hour. So definitely getting out of turn 4 well, carrying the speed down the straight. As we've seen with everybody else right now, it's that engineering talent that really gives you the best opportunity for the right amount of downforce to the right amount of drag on the race car, so you can get down the straightaway quickly, still get grip in the turns, and come up with a good average speed.
He's not going to make the top 9.
He really had troubles there. Yeah. That lap down to 225. So he's just hanging on.
Yeah, he would like this run to be over with.
When you say hanging on, Alan, really that's what happens when a car's not working well like this. For us in the cockpit, you remember what happened the last time you went through corner 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it is, and you're trying to adjust your line going in, and hopefully you'll have a better car because you made some adjustments in the cockpit, but it's fresh in your mind and you're just hoping the car's going to stick.
Hope's not a great strategy, is it?
Oh, that's all you have sometimes.
That was a pity.
Well, from just outside the Fast 9 to 25th for Oriol Serbia, 4-lap average 226.893. Will Power up to second fastest today. Rick?
Yeah, and Will Power just said this was the most difficult qualifying he's ever had to do in his life. Explain why.
Well, it's just so difficult this year. I mean, you're not flat on the last lap, you're shaking on the throttle. It's just making it. So I think it's, if the fans are watching, they'll understand, like, man, it is tough. Like, the car is just constantly sliding and moving, and you got to be on that edge to make it in. So it's fun, but not good for the heart.
So where did the extra speed come from? Was it setup? Was it track? Was it you? Where did it come from?
It was just conditions. I mean, we can see the wind speed of our run was the worst of all the teammates. So we just got better conditions this time, and the speed was fast. We hardly changed anything, honestly, on the car. So it just, you got to pick your time to run, and they put me in the line, so it was around, I think, 6:45, and it was dead on.
Well, the good news is he's easily in the Fast 9. The bad news is he's got a run again tomorrow to see if he can get the pole.
That is true. One of the things that is the hardest to transmit to people, you hear someone like Will talk about that. And when you watch the onboard cameras and stuff, I just don't think it does it justice to the experience of being behind the wheel, trying to get that car through the turn, and that hope strategy thing of what you're feeling and seeing and thinking going around here at 220-something miles an hour.
What Power just said is a lot of that lap, he wasn't sure what the car was going to do, but you have to throw yourself in the corner, keep your foot. As he said, his foot was starting to tremble on the throttle because your brain is telling you, this is crazy. What am I doing? And yet you have to overpower that, and he did. And that was an incredible run that he did. I really like the way these cars are in qualifying, because the drivers really have to earn every 10th of a mile that they squeeze out of these cars.
Well, you say that now because you're standing in the television booth. You wouldn't be voting for it if you were standing down there and had to do more than one run. Back in our day, it was one run.
And yeah, it was good or it was bad. And now they got to go do it again tomorrow.
Here's Connor Daly at 228.167 so far on his average around. He averaged 227.804, and we heard him say wanted to go again, thought there was more in it. So far, there has not been much more in it. There's his dad, Derek, former Formula One racer, broadcaster.
I love the goggles.
And he can't quite decide which goggles to wear.
The old school goggles. All he needs is a riding mechanic next to him, right? That's terrific.
I raced against him in Formula 2 in 1976 and 77.
Derek's a good man. I enjoyed what time that I've spent with him in broadcasting, and the effort and the dedication that he has put to try and help his son experience top-level racing like he has certainly been noteworthy and amazing.
A great opportunity to draw from the experience of father. Marco has the same situation here, not only with his dad, with Michael, but obviously with Mario, Graham with Bobby. Nice lines.
Very consistent times.
His team pulled together a sponsorship involving one of the Indianapolis Colt players, Pat McAfee, their punter. They're doing that thing that says Shirts for America is a charitable cause to try and support veterans charities. They're hoping to do a cause-related fundraising effort by backing Connor in this race. And the press conference was a pretty good bit of theater as well. I didn't know punters could be so funny. 227.862, that's 17th for Connor Daly. He was 18th before he went out and withdrew his time, so that's fairly even up.
Tells you.
And the drama at the front of the qualifying line continues, Jan.
Yes, a very interesting dynamic for Ryan Hunter-Reay. Ryan Hunter-Reay sits 9th right now, and he's right behind Marco Andretti. And the way they're clicking off, I think that he'll have an opportunity to go. But he's 9th, meaning if he rolls out, he will give up that time, and therefore he has to reestablish himself in the top 9. So this is going to help his teammate Marco Andretti, but a very difficult situation here for Ryan Hunter-Reay in the timing. He may actually, it's possible, he could roll out being in the top 9 and end up not there by his own accord, just by the timing.
You see 10 minutes left. On the track is Gabby Chavez, looking to see if he can improve his position from earlier, and the whole teammate situation now with having to withdraw times and trying to race into the Fast 9 should make these final minutes really, really interesting. Everybody else that's in that other lane, forget about it.
Yeah, they're done. They might as well go back to the pits.
Take them back to the gasoline alley. So Chavez was 20th fastest on his first run at 227.673, and obviously a difficult set of corners there. Had some good straightaway speed into turn 1.
You know, and Eddie, you know this, that when you go out there and you've done your first turn or a couple of turns, you know whether the changes have been positive or they're not working for you. And then you start to work the tools inside the car. The sway bars, the weight jacker, what have you. But if it's not really working the first couple of turns,
not going to get better.
You're not going to get it better.
The real key to these runs are the first time they're on their flying lap to see how they do in one. I think he's coming in the pits. He called it off.
Rolling out of it?
Yeah. That's what I was saying before. You can do that and give the cars behind you a chance. So now he's almost made sure that Hunter-Reay gets a run.
And maybe somebody behind Hunter-Reay.
Yes.
Maybe.
There's
only 8.5 minutes left.
That was a really good gesture that he did. He saw he did not have a chance of improving, so he decided to give that time back.
Won't make the Fast 9. Times for tomorrow wiped out anyway, so he'll qualify again tomorrow to see if he can start as high as 10th.
This is a pressure-filled run, this one with Marco Andretti.
So the thing, I guess, really for Ryan Hunter-Reay to decide, because right now he is 9th and just inside the top 9. If Marco does not bump him out, does he pass on going out onto the track?
He doesn't have to decide anything. He's just got to go out there and go fast.
Well, what if he doesn't go any faster? He's withdrew his time. And he's no longer in the top 9, so that's good.
Look what Marco's doing. Marco is saving his tires by taking it easy on his warm-up lap. This will be interesting to see if he can make them last longer.
So again, another warm-up lap to go.
Yeah, remember his first lap? It was the first run rather. It was his 4th lap that he had a major problem with and really dropped the speed off.
Okay. Here it comes.
Coming to the green.
This is where you're convincing yourself to keep your foot flat on the gas into turn 1.
He has no problem keeping his foot flat on the gas.
Let's watch, see how he makes out.
2:37 going into one, which is really what we've seen the guys that are putting themselves in the front row right now.
But you saw that tracker drop to 15th.
Here the engine RPMs drone down, as I call it, in the middle of the turn. Tells you the car's bound up, not going free enough through the turn.
Well, he loses a lot too.
A little bit faster this run on lap 1, a little bit. Remember the way that everybody's been picking up, he's going to need to be a good bit faster.
Sounding a bit better there.
This better be a very high 231.
Yeah, but segment 3 and 4 definitely help. Look at the tracker.
Good run off of 4, yeah.
Another good one.
So a little earlier downshift to try and carry the speed through there and not have the car so slow through 2. Look how much steering he's got to put him through turn 2. Yeah. Very busy on all the controls in the car. Turn 3 and 4, definitely the best end for the handling of his car right now.
So white flag, Marco Andretti's 3rd qualification attempt of the day. Can he get it back around inside the top 9, or will it not be enough? So close. Oh, good run.
He says, sorry, teammate.
Andretti in, Hunter Ray out.
And guess who goes next? Hunter Ray.
And Hunter Ray out onto the track. Marco 230.037 miles an hour on his 4-lap run. His average lap time, listen to this, was 39.124. Hunter Ray's average lap time on his last run was 39.128. He's got to replicate it again. He's got to do better this time.
But not by a lot. That was a very consistent run from Marco.
3.5 minutes left. So Marco Andretti in at P9 on the bubble, while his teammate Ryan Hunter-Reay tries to displace him, and the countdown clock to the end of today's qualifying session clicks quickly forward.
He's like exhausted.
Think about that. He ran 3 times today.
You know, and the day before, the night before, in the morning getting to the track, you are emotionally trying to put yourself together to go do 1 run. But now this new system, multiple runs.
I don't think he left anything in the car, did he? Everything that was in it, he squeezed out of it.
So now Hunter Ray. Can he put 4 laps together and bump Marco back out?
239 guys going into turn 1 that time. But as we've seen, it's going to be consistency over those 4 laps. Keeping the car underneath you, working with the tools inside the cockpit to adjust it, not only for the changing track conditions and the tires that are going away on you, but from both ends, because both ends are working differently.
So this is Hunter Ray's 3rd run of the day in qualifying trim.
2:31.3. Listen to the public.
just disbelief. Helpless, can't do anything about it.
I gave it my all. I went through all that, and it might not be enough. Hunter Ray's got a very solid run going, but still a long way from the checkered flag. Inside of a minute. And the white flag.
That's a very good run.
Yeah, 2:39 again going into turn 1.
Using all the road.
Here are the RPMs on that one, not dipping down like we heard previously with Marco.
2 final corners to negotiate. Lap trip around, his 3rd of the day. Moscow's Mikhail Aloshin will go to see if he can race his way back into the Fast 9.
It will not be from lack of trying.
There's Rossi. All he can do is watch. And again, everyone has to requalify tomorrow, but only 9 get to run for pole position. Everybody else is qualifying for, at best, the 10th starting spot. 2:29.568 was Aloshin's best 4-lap run earlier. He needs 2:30.048 to beat Rossi.
I don't know what he did in turn 3, but he went from 13th to 6th.
The margin is slim. So even when you're watching those last couple of corners like we were on Hunter Ray, I'm still holding my breath because one slip and it knocks you out.
It doesn't take much to take much time off. And you can just maybe turn the car, realize you've turned it a bit too much, and then you sort of bring it back or hold it, and then you have to turn it a little bit tighter right in the middle of the turn by the apex to make the turn. Call it turning it in too shallow. It's just so fine to turn around and get that thing from being inside the top 9 to outside the top 9.
This is a good run.
But it's only halfway over.
Very little wind pushing the cars into turn 1.
Faster on his second lap than the first.
And Eddie, you've hit something right on there because we're looking at the booth right now, and the windsock on the top of the pylon is basically non-existent. So a great opportunity here.
If he gets in, he will have earned it the hard way because his first 2 runs were adventurous. He fought the car. He should have probably crashed twice. He didn't.
I was going to say he probably shouldn't be here.
He did 3 laps in the 2:30.
4 corners to go. Got through the first one.
Oh. 3 and 4 have been relatively easy today. I think he's done it. So smooth.
With the last run of the day, Mikhail Aloshin will crack the Fast 9.
Wow. That is a very big accomplishment. Like you said, he climbed out of the hole they were in just with pure grit.
Well, we've seen the whole range of emotion here for shots in that Fast 9. Let's head downstairs and hear all about it.
Yes, and of course the toughest emotion would be with the Andretti group. Marco talking to his dad about not only what happened to you, but now to your teammate with this very last run. For you, you really had to pedal that thing. Was it lap 1 that made the difference?
No, I'm actually carrying way more throttle than my teammates. We hurt the engine on the first run, and it's been tired ever since.
So under those circumstances, that was a pretty awesome run for you to be able to get that much out of it.
Yeah, it's a bummer because I think we could have been in a bunch of different ways. I think I should have tried the first lap flat. I committed to lifting because we thought we had enough, and I think it would have done it flat. But we committed to lifting because we didn't want to hurt the tire for the 4th lap. There's a bunch of ways we could have been in for sure.
All right, thank you, Marco. Tough day. Car's in, but not for Marco Andretti. Rick?
Yeah, and the guy who bumped him out, it was his teammate, Ryan Hunter-Reay, and this has actually been a pretty frustrating week for you. You've kind of been, your teammates have been doing so well, you knew you had it. Is this like vindication finally today to not just get in that Fast 9, but to get in second fastest?
Yeah, after leading the speed charts on Wednesday, that was really nice. Little side note, but yeah, we hit some troubles there through the rest of the week, and today we've just been getting up to speed, and for one reason or another didn't nail the balance, but that last run was great. So I really give credit to the whole 28 DHL Honda team. Those guys, when I needed them, they were there with the right settings, and the car was great. So I want to thank Honda also for really pushing here. They're absolutely hanging it all out on the edge as we are as the drivers, and it's making for a great show out there. So it's good to see Hinch up at the top of the leaderboard after all he's gone through. I was there at the first test that he got back into the car at Road America, and I was blown away that he was right on the pace, right out of the box. I mean, absolute, first-class guy, great race car driver, so it's great to see him up there. Hopefully tomorrow, though, he's saying the same about me and we're better than him. We'll see. All
right, last year you were so frustrated here at the Speedway. Does it feel great? Yeah, you got to go through another qualifying session, but you got a shot at a pole here. Yeah, last year after Indy, a couple races later, we found the problem with the car. It wouldn't turn here for me, so you can't have a good race car here that doesn't turn. So thankfully, we found the problem. We won a couple races later in the year, and now the car's turning for me. So I feel good, on my own in qualifying trim, and I feel good in traffic. I felt that way in 14, so hopefully we'll have a good Monday test, and all that matters is the race. We qualified 19th here when we won it, so I'm just focused on the race. We'll get through this. Win number 2, Ryan Hunter-Reay wants it.
All right, Rick, thank you. Mikhail Aloshin has a birthday tomorrow. He'll turn 29. And he's hoping that he's celebrating with a pole position at Indianapolis. They had to earn the right to race for it tomorrow. They got out onto the track by what we're told from race control, 1 second. He cleared out onto the track before the gun went off.
And what's amazing is that for his teammate that's on, first place to be what we say, I don't want to say pole because we're going for pole tomorrow, but a small team. This is not one of the big 3 team guys. I mean, this is like a smaller team that doesn't have a huge budget, but they've got everything clicking their way right now, so very impressive.
So there are the 9 drivers that will run for pole position and the top 9 starting spots in the Indianapolis 500-mile race tomorrow on ABC, starting at 4 Eastern time. And everyone else will compete for, at best, the 10th starting spot. And you'll see that starting on Sunday, tomorrow at 2 Eastern on ESPN3. Check that. That should be 2:30 Eastern is when qualifications start tomorrow.
There are some big names in that group.
Yeah.
Montoya's in there.
Yeah. And there are the rest of the 30 who made a run today. I would suspect that Mikhail Aloshin is pretty elated right now. What do you think?
He made it into that last qualifying run by 1 second. 1 second later, and he would not have been able to run. You have had a lifetime of qualifying experiences today. What are the emotions? What's going through your mind right now and the fact that you're now in the Fast 9?
Well, it's amazing to be in the Fast 9. This first race, second race of mine, and first 100th running, obviously. It's definitely an amazing and unbelievable feeling. It's my first Fast 9.
So did it feel better that last time? And the first few times you kept talking about the moments you had. Did it at least feel semi-comfortable?
Yeah, it felt more comfortable, that's for sure. And also the weather, came to us a little bit in the end. So, everybody went faster in the end. And, I kept, you know, I was in the same mood, I would say, as them. So, no, it's great. You know, all the team did just fantastic job. You know, I want to congratulate because, you know, 2 drivers in top 9 is awesome, and congratulations to James, who is finished P1st. So it's amazing. You know, it means, you know, it means that the weekend is starting well.
Yeah, and here's the question: could we have a Russian on the pole here at the Indy 500 tomorrow?
After what he showed us today, it is certainly possible. All the emotions, the disappointment and the elation on display today here at Indianapolis, and we do it all over again tomorrow. We start with the run for positions 10 through 33 on the starting grid of the 500, ESPN 3 at 2:30 Eastern, and then coverage of the Indianapolis 500 run for the pole at 4 o'clock Eastern, Sunday on ABC. Of course, the race 1 week from tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, our telecast presented by Firestone, the 100th Indianapolis 500-mile race. What a day! And we'll do it all again tomorrow, just to set the starting grid before we wave the green flag on the 100th edition of the Great Race. See you tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern Time.